Chapter 121. 10 Steps to Kill a Man, 1,000 Miles Unstoppable. When a matter was done, he brushed his clothes and left, hiding his identity and name. Li Bai's poem, The Way of the Gallant, was originally written about those hermit swordsmen who were chivalrous and liked to fight for the sake of the people. Later, the assassin organization felt that these words were too cool and domineering. Moreover, the phrase brushing one's robe and hiding one's body and name when one is done was clearly used to describe the profession they were engaged in. Therefore, the assassins, dressed in a special black professional suit, deliberately chose to recite a few lines of tang or song poems before they went out to kill on a dark and windy night. It did give people a feeling that the overall quality of the assassin industry had improved a lot. Later on, with the development of internet technology and genetic technology, only a strand of hair or a single cell was needed to search through the global database. This included the number of times you peed on your bed when you were a child, and whether you peeked at your neighbor's little sister while she was bathing. At this time, when things are done, I will brush my clothes and go into hiding had become empty words, a beautiful wish. In the information age, most assassins had a record. Only an extremely small number of top-notch or extremely secretive experts would not have their information known by the outside world. Even the most powerful spies and intelligence organizations in the United States found it difficult to peek at their true colors. The Monsters were a famous assassin group in the world of assassins. The girl was called Little Goblin, and the boy was called Old Monster. The two of them were lovers. Whether it was killing one person or a group of people, the two of them would appear at the same time. Meng would never leave Jiao. Jiao would never leave Meng, and they would never separate. Therefore, when they were hired, it was equivalent to hiring two top-notch assassins at the same time. Moreover, the two of them had been working together for many years and had a tacit understanding of each other. They would often come up with strange moves. Even if they encountered opponents who were stronger than them, they could still turn defeat into victory. There were almost no defeats. This was the first time Fang Yin had come into contact with him, and it was also the first time he had heard of the famous Monsters. However, if an expert didn't make a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. The two of them stood in tacit agreement, with the woman in front and the man behind. The petite woman stood on the left side of the tall man. She was able to maintain the advantage of being the first to attack, but not block the smooth acceleration of the man behind her. If that was all, it would be hard for Fang Yin to pay attention to him. Their positions actually coincided with the Taiji's wind power acupoint. Only when the wind blows can the water rise. Wind brings forth water. Tai Chi. I am the Tai Chi. Could he be a Taiji disciple? Fang Yin thought to himself. Kill! The old monster shouted. Although he was standing in the back row, he held the important position of the group spokesperson. If he said kill, they would kill. If he said run, they would run. Of course, the former was more common, and the latter had yet to appear. Are you going to make a move now? Fang Yin waved his hand to stop them. That's not what they show on TV. The monster duo looked at each other. The little goblin asked in a sharp voice, Do you have any last words? Say it all at once. Although I can't promise that I'll help you get the message out. In the movies and TV shows, before killing someone, the bad guys will sneer 3 times and say, I want you to die knowing. Then, he explained clearly why he wanted to kill and who sent him to kill. He explained everything clearly. I'm going to die soon. You can't let me die unjustly, right? Tell me, why do you want to kill me? Who sent you to kill me? Fang Yin felt that it was a waste to die like this. He couldn't be a muddle-headed ghost. He had to be a clear-headed ghost. The little goblin and the old monster felt like vomiting blood. You're going to die soon. Who has the patience to talk nonsense with you? Do you think this is a movie? The opportunity to kill was fleeting. For them, a dead person was the safest. Only a dead person could keep his mouth shut. You don't say it because you don't dare to. Fang Yin sneered. What? You're not confident that you can kill me today? You're worried that I'll leave here alive to take revenge on a mastermind? That's right. That's my plan. Next time, don't say things like, this day next year will be your death anniversary. I've read so many novels. Anyone who said that was killed by the person they wanted to kill. The old monster was furious. He roared, Fang Yin, you dare to bully me. Kill. Before the word kill left his mouth, the little goblin had already rushed out. This was tacit understanding. People often use the inelegant phrase, "I know you're going to shit before you even lift your," but to describe the tacit understanding between two people. For the little goblin and the old monster, they could indeed achieve this kind of close cooperation. The little goblin was short, and her body was wrapped in a black suit. If it wasn't for the bright moon in the sky, it was almost impossible to catch her movement. Even with the moonlight and starlight, it was still not daytime. She was good at taking advantage of the blind spots of the eyes. Her eyes could not catch up with the speed of her movements. Her figure flashed twice, and she had already rushed to the side of Fong Yen. Only then did she reveal the thin blade hidden on the back of her wrist. The cold and sharp blade went straight for Fong Yan's neck. Whoosh, almost silently, the blade cut at a tricky angle towards the main artery of Fong Yan's neck, which was particularly eye-catching in the eyes of the little goblin. At the same time, the old monster also moved. His toes touched the ground, and his body had already jumped high with the help of the rebound force. He threw a punch straight at Fong Yan's face with the force of thunder. One attacked from the front, the other attacked from the side. One was soft and strange, the other heavy and invincible. Two kinds of strength and two styles attacked at the same time. If one was a little careless, one would be seriously injured, or even both would die under the heavy punches and sharp blades. Mandarin ducks playing in the water. This was the name given by the old monster and the little goblin to their first coordinated attack. This was the appetizer of their fight with others, a set of soft and sweet killing moves that could easily reap lives. Wolves in front and tigers behind, taking a walk in the mountains. Fong Yin naturally spread his feet. The tip of his left foot quickly drew a circle in front of his body. His body was relaxed like a sauna, his hands in front and back. His posture was weird like a drunkard. The blade arrived first. Fong Yan's wrist turned, and his soft arm stuck to the little goblin's wrist. The little goblin used strength, and Fong Yin used strength. The little goblin used strength again, and Fong Yin used strength again. The more strength the little goblin used, the more she found that the blade was not under her control. Whoosh! Blood splattered. However, it was not Fong Yan's body that was hurt. Although the blade was still pinched between the little goblin's hands, Fong Yin had controlled her hands. Her blade made a long cut on her cheek, which was wrapped in black cloth. The black cloth split, and dark red blood flowed out crazily. The little goblin covered the wound on her cheek and took 3 steps back, as if she had seen a ghost. Strong control, her opponent had actually clearly guessed the development of each of her moves, and had defeated her with techniques that were even more exquisite than hers. Who was he? The wind from the fist arrived. Fong Yin straightened her wrist, and her palm pushed out with an all-encompassing force. Boom! Fong Yin's palm blocked the old monster's fist. One was as hard as iron, and the other was as soft as cotton. One was as iron and fire, and the other was as ice and water. Ice and fire were incompatible, and there was a crackling sound. This was a real move, and also a fake move. The real move was because of the fierce strength of the two's fists. The fake move was because they were only using this move to measure the opponent's strength, and the killing intent was not obvious enough. The old monster's fist was still pressed against Fong Yan's palm, but his fist had turned into a claw, and his wrist moved quickly, and the lucky grappling hand directly grabbed the pulse of Fong Yan's wrist. As long as he grabbed it, Fong Yan's body would immediately lose the ability to move. The little goblin was waiting on the side, ready to attack at any time, and Fong Yan would definitely die. Fong Yan couldn't help but smile. "I'm also good at this move," Fong Yan said. The lucky grappling hand was one of the 3 major grappling techniques of Tai Chi. The Fong family's Tai Chi used the lucky grappling hand. When he was very young, he began to practice turning hands with the old drunkard, and they made a bet that whoever won would win $1 from the other party. In the beginning, Fong Yan's pocket money was all won by the old drunkard. Later, as he grew older and became more and more proficient in this move, the two of them became evenly matched, and the winning and losing ratio was 50-50. When the heart of Tai Chi appeared, he could move his heart at will, and his palms were connected. When he turned hands with the old drunkard again, he won more than he lost. Of course, at that time, the old drunkard was no longer in his peak state, and he was no longer in the mood to turn hands with him. Thus, on this night with the bright moon in the sky, on this dangerous mountain peak, a dazzling scene appeared. The old monster's claws desperately tried to grab Fong Yan's wrist, while Fong Yan's right hand turned into a claw to grab the old monster's wrist while avoiding the old monster's grasp. Their hands seemed to be glued together by rubber honey, and it was difficult to separate them. They flew up and down as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The old monster was still a beat too slow, and Fong Yan's thumb suddenly pressed on the Ming Min acupoint on his wrist. The old monster's body went numb, and he lost the ability to move. The little goblin was anxious, and he attacked again with his knife. Fong Yin grabbed the old monster's wrist with one hand and pushed his body toward the little goblin's knife. Hiss! The little goblin couldn't retract his knife in time, and the knife cut a long wound on the old monster's back. Dong, dong, dong. The little goblin took 3 steps back, and he didn't dare to attack again. Who the hell are you? The little goblin shouted. Her voice was originally sharp, as if she was arguing with someone while pinching her throat. With the hostage in hand, the world is mine. Fong Yin grabbed the old monster's wrist and said with a smile, You learned some Tai Chi Kung Fu, and now you want to be an assassin. Are you going to kill me? Do you have the ability to kill me? Fong Yin knew that the little goblin and the old monster wouldn't answer his difficult questions, so he said, Now let's play a quick game. I ask a question, and you immediately tell me the answer, or else. Fong Yin thought for a moment and said, I'll break one of his fingers. First question, where did you learn Tai Chi? Crack. As soon as Fong Yin finished speaking, the sound of a finger breaking was heard. The little goblin was angry, and the old monster was about to cry. They didn't even have time to answer. How could he break someone's finger? Sorry, I was too nervous, Fong Yin apologized awkwardly and said with embarrassment. Chapter 122. If the little goblin and the old monster were not hostages, the little goblin and the old monster would have been swearing at each other. The hand belonged to the old monster, and the one answering the question was the little goblin. What did it have to do with you? Why are you so nervous? We're the ones who should be nervous, okay? Fong Yin waved his hand, indicating that the previous time did not count. He held the Mingmin acupoint on the old monster's wrist with one hand and grabbed the 5 fingers of the old monster's right hand with the other. Come on, the previous time does not count. Let's continue the game. First question, where did you learn Tai Chi? The little goblin looked at the old monster as if he wanted to say something. Crack! Fong Yin exerted force on his fingers and broke another one of the old monster's fingers. Because Fong Yin exerted too much force this time, the old monster's fingers were almost broken at a 90-degree angle. Even though the old monster had been through hundreds of battles, he still could not bear the pain. He gritted his teeth and groaned. What are you doing? The little goblin roared. He moved his right foot forward, as if he was ready to attack at any time. You did it on purpose. Yes, I did it on purpose this time, Fong Yin said honestly. I didn't explain the rules clearly just now, so I'll add a few more. After I ask the question, the person who answers the question must not hesitate or waste any time. The two of you must not talk to each other, not even through eye contact. Who knows if there are any chips implanted in your eyes that allow you to send messages through eye contact or something. You didn't explain the rules clearly. Why'd you break his fingers? The little goblin said angrily. Why should someone else bear the responsibility for your mistake? Fong Yin sneered. He looked at the little goblin and said, You are assassins, not childish kids. Don't you know this better than me? Now all of you are in my hands. Everything I say is the law. Everything I do is the law. It doesn't matter if it's my fault or not. If I say it's your fault, then it's your fault. Did you tell me the rules when you killed me? I don't think so. The little goblin wanted to say something, but stopped. She really couldn't refute Fong Yan's words. If they had succeeded just now, Fong Yin would have been a dead man by now. They wouldn't teach him any rules or play some idiotic game of quick answers. A philosopher in the world of assassins once said, Wasting time is equivalent to slowly committing suicide. Do you understand now? Fong Yin asked with a smile. If you understand, then let's start again. First question, who sent you to kill me? The little goblin opened her mouth, but quickly closed it again. This cunning bastard was as cunning as a fox and as treacherous as a coyote. He actually played tricks on them. He actually played interrogation psychology with them. Fong Yin broke the first finger of the little goblin and the old monster when they were defenseless. That was to make them tense and ready to answer any question Fong Yin asked, because they didn't know why he would do it, and they didn't know when he would do it. They couldn't guard against him, but they had to guard against him. The reason Fong Yin broke the second finger of the old monster was that the little goblin answered the question too slowly and was suspected of making eye contact. Because of the hesitation, because of the pause, the old monster broke a finger. This made the little goblin and the old monster more focused, and they even had the answer on the tip of their tongue. As long as Fong Yin asked another question, they would immediately say the answer he wanted. However, the third question he asked was about the mastermind behind the scene. He suddenly changed the question, and they almost blurted out the answer. Fortunately, they reacted quickly and forcibly held back the answer. If they leaked the buyer's information, they would violate the professional spirit of assassins. Not only would it be difficult for them to establish a foothold in this profession, but they would also be hunted by the organization. The first Assassin's Creed, kill the target. The second Assassin's Creed, never leak the employer's information. The third Assassin's Creed, loyalty to the employer comes first. Fong Yin looked at the old monster in his hands, and then looked at the little goblin's happy eyes in front of him. He couldn't help but feel happy. He said, "Do you think I'm very smart?" Crack. Fong Yin slowly broke the third finger of the old monster. Fong Yin patted the back of the old monster's hand and said, "This is the price for refusing to answer the question." The old monster and the little goblin stared at Fong Yin viciously. They were almost about to explode from anger. Toying. Such words involuntarily popped up in their minds. He was playing with them, playing with their bodies, playing with their feelings. They were assassins. One? No, two long-established assassins were toyed with like this. It had to be said that this was a form of humiliation. "You can kill me," the old monster looked at Fong Yin and said, "but I can guarantee you that you will be in danger for the rest of your life, and your life will be taken away at any time." "Is this a threat?" Fong Yin said sarcastically. "Even the knives in your hands can't scare me. Do you think your lips can do things that knives can't?" "What do you want?" the little goblin said. "We can make a deal." "You have no right to make a deal with me. Answer my first question first. Where did you learn Tai Chi?" Fong Yin asked again. The little goblin confirmed the content of Fong Yin's question and said in a low voice, "We learned from Wen Qingxue for a while." Wen Tai Chi. Fong Yin asked. Wen Tai Chi was a branch of Qin Tai Chi and one of the main branches of Huaxia Tai Chi. Wen Qingxue was a famous Tai Chi master in Huaxia country. He was known as the swallow in the cloud. Fong Yin saw with his own eyes that when Qingxue in a white tang suit stepped on the edge of the copper basin with one foot and walked along it. The copper basin was empty, but it did not tilt to one side. Wen Qingxue's posture was like a swallow flying in the clouds. That was why he was known as the swallow in the cloud. Fong Yin looked at the little goblin seriously and said, "Who are you to Wen Qingxue?" The little goblin did not answer. Fong Yin suddenly remembered a secret and asked in surprise, "You are Wen Qingxue's abandoned disciple?" Rumor had it that Wen Qingxue had two things when he was young. One was that he had many disciples, and the other was that he had many women. One of the disciples fell in love with his favorite lover. Somehow, Wen Qingxue found out about this. Wen Qingxue was furious and threatened to cripple the two. The disciple and the lover ran away and were never heard from again. One should not wash one's dirty linen in public. Very few people knew about this. Fong Yin also overheard it by accident. Now that he heard the little goblin say that they learned Tai Chi from Wen Qingxue, could it be that these two were the lover and disciple that Wen Qingxue had chased away? Tai Chi is a martial art that strengthens the body, but you used it to kill people. You can kill bad people, but you even killed people like me. Do you still have a conscience? Assassins work for money. They don't care about good or evil, the old monster said coldly. You sound free and easy. Fang Yin laughed coldly. You still have 2 fingers on this hand. I also have 2 questions to ask. First, who sent you to kill me? The little goblin and the old monster did not answer. Crack! Fang Yin exerted force again and broke the old monster's 4th finger. This hand still has the best finger. I also have one last question. Fang Yin said, Who sent you to kill me? This was the last question and the last chance. If they were still unwilling to answer, then Fang Yin did not mind showing them the violence of a gentleman. I don't know, the old monster said. No one knows. They were contacted through an organization. I'm not satisfied with this answer. I have to apologize to you again, Fang Yin said. At this moment, the little goblin rushed toward Fang Yin with the blade in his hand. He looked like he wanted to die together with his lover. Fang Yin grabbed the old monster's wrist and pushed him away. The old monster was his natural shield. He did not believe that the little goblin would dare to attack his lover, the old monster. As long as the old monster did not die, Fang Yin would not have to worry. Soon, Fang Yin realized that he was wrong. The little goblin really attacked the old monster. Moreover, this attack was very fierce and cruel. The blade in her hand was just a disguise. She didn't know when, but she had changed the blade into a long, prismatic blade. The long sword slashed at the old monster's arm. Due to the force, the arm that was in Fang Yin's hand was cut off. Chi! Smoke rose around Fang Yin, and a flame flew toward Fang Yin. Fang Yin swung the broken arm to knock away the phosphor stones. When he could see again, he saw the little goblin and the old monster holding hands and jumping into the tiger, leaping gorge. The gorge was unfathomably deep in a mountain wind. Suicide? No. The warrior cut off his arm to survive. After descending a certain distance, a large black cloth suddenly bulged behind them. The black cloth unfolded in the strong wind and turned into a natural parachute. On the little goblin's back was a mini parachute bag. It seemed that there was a reason why they chose the tiger leaping gorge as their attack point. Fang Yin stood in the gorge and watched them for a long time. He only retracted his gaze when they disappeared from his sight. Raising his bloody arm, Fang Yin sighed and said, Killers, killers, they have to kill their own hands at the critical moment. Fang Yin thought that they were really cruel. Ordinary people would not have been able to do this. Chapter 123. Zheng Guodong let out a groan. All the bones in his body were in pain, as if they were about to fall apart. However, if they really did fall apart, those bones would no longer be his bones. He might just become a pile of white bones, and it would not be as painful as this. Zheng Guodong's face was on the ground, and his body was lying on the hard rock below him. Just as he was about to turn his body and change into a more comfortable sleeping or sitting position, someone suddenly shouted, Zheng Guodong, don't move. Zheng Guodong turned around and looked over with the help of the faint moonlight. It was his little friend, Liang, who was shouting at him. His expression was very nervous and frightened, as if there was a Cobra King above his head. If he moved his body, he might provoke the Cobra King and cause it to pounce at him. Poisonous snake? Zheng Guodong was most afraid of these soft and slippery animals that emitted a cold aura. He quickly raised his head and looked up. Above him was the bright moon and stars, and there was nothing that was very dangerous to him. Zheng Guodong, don't move. After thinking about Li Yang's words again, Zheng Guodong finally realized a serious problem. He stared at Li Yang and said, What did you call me just now? Zheng Guodong. Zheng. Li Yang, in a moment of desperation, directly shouted Zheng Guodong's name. Under his coercion, the fear and avoidance that he had accumulated over a long period of time caused him to change the way he called him, which could better accentuate his low status, Zheng. However, when he thought about how Zheng Guodong was still arguing with him over such a trivial matter, his heart burned with fury. He shouted, Look at what's next to you. What's next to me? Zheng Guodong looked to his right and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. A cliff. Not far from him was the misty, bottomless canyon of Mount Zhangxia. The mountain wind was piercingly cold, and Zheng Guodong's body felt even colder. Their current position was a concave rock formation that extended out from the side of the cliff. When they were kicked down, They were saved by these large rocks. Otherwise, they would have fallen into the canyon and been smashed to pieces. However, if he dared to casually flip it, there was a risk that he might roll out of the groove. Therefore, Liang's reminder was timely and crucial. Zheng Guodong thought for a moment and felt ashamed to face Liang. He said, "You can call me Zheng Guodong from now on." Liang was overjoyed. He thought that this was a blessing in disguise. He had finally become Zheng Guodong's loyal confidant, and his position was more important than Xin Tao's. The smile on his face froze before it could spread, and the joy in his heart disappeared before it could spread. What was there to be happy about in such an environment and such an encounter? What was this bit of good fortune compared to the disaster he had encountered? "Zheng, what do we do now?" Liang asked. "How would I know?" Zheng Guodong said gloomily. He didn't even dare to turn around. So what could he think of? "Zheng, Liang." A weak voice sounded. Zheng Guodong and Liang followed the voice and finally found Chun Tao, who was hidden by the thick leaves and brambles. Liang shouted, "Chun Tao, are you okay? How are you?" "My hand is broken. My hand is broken." Chun Tao cried. "I can't move my hand." "Shut up," Zheng Guodong growled in a low voice. "Why are you crying? What is this place? What if those two people hear us?" Hearing Zheng Guodong mention the two ruthless men in the dark who wanted to kill them, Liang didn't dare to speak, and Chun Tao didn't dare to cry anymore. It was too scary. Silence. A long silence. This time, it was Zheng Guodong who broke the silence. "Who wants to hurt us?" Zheng Guodong asked. "Who has such a big grudge against us that they would treat us so cruelly?" Li Tao is narrow-minded. Young Master Zheng stole his girlfriend, so maybe he'll find someone to do this to us. Zhang Kai's also said that as long as there's a chance, he will make us suffer. Last time when we played football in the sports school, Luo Mingjia also threatened us, saying not to let them see us outside the school, or else they would beat us up, and Wang Jun from number 21 High. We don't get along with him either. Linley from number 19 High also has a motive, and the coach from Glory Martial Arts School, didn't he also break one of Zhang's fingers last time? "I asked you who wants to kill us," Zheng Guodong said grumpily. "Why are you mentioning them?" "Boss." Chun Tao finally spoke. "It could be any one of them." Zheng Guodong was very sad. He had always thought that he had friends all over the world, but he didn't expect to have so many enemies. Sigh. Liang sighed softly. "Zheng, we have offended too many people in the past. We have to change it in the future," Chun Tao also said. "If we can survive this, I'll definitely turn over a new leaf." "Me too," Liang said. "I will apologize to everyone we offended in the past. I will introduce a new girlfriend to Li Tao, give Zhang Kai's a fair chance, and play a friendly match with Luo Mingjia from the sports school. Do you guys think it's Fang Yin who did it?" Zheng Guodong suddenly interrupted Liang and asked, "Fang Yin? That's impossible, right?" Liang said, "Why would he do that? What good would it do him if he did that? He is our homeroom teacher. He has to take responsibility. Why can't he do that?" Zheng Guodong sneered. "Do you think we don't have enough conflicts? We try to harm him time and time again. Didn't he want to harm us once? But he doesn't have to be so vicious, right? They're trying to kill us." Chun Tao said with a lingering fear in his heart. "Moreover, Fang Yin is alone, and there are two men in black. Idiot. Why didn't he find a helper?" Zheng Guodong retorted. "Don't tell me that person in black is Qin Yiqian." "No." Liang and Chun Tao denied at the same time. Zheng Guodong wanted to look up at Liang and Chun Tao's expressions, but he couldn't move because of the environment. "You too. Don't tell me you like Qin Yiqian." Liang began to cry out in pain, as if he was in great pain. Chun Tao cried again, and he cried miserably, "My hand is broken, boss, my hand is broken." Zheng Guodong sighed and said, "Even if you like Qin Yiqian, I won't blame you. Who doesn't like him?" He thought about it and solemnly promised, "If we go back safely this time, we three brothers will go after Qin Yiqian fairly. Whoever wins will get it." Liang and Chun Tao were overjoyed, and they felt that they had a goal in life. "It must be Fang Yin," Zheng Guodong said fiercely again. "This guy is too tolerant. After we set him up last time, He acted as if nothing happened and even smiled when he saw us. When we got on the car this morning, he even smiled at me. Now that I think about it, it was a bit meaningful. Why didn't I think about why he smiled at me? Are you sure? Someone asked. Yes, Zheng Guodong said with certainty. Who else could it be if not him? This bastard doesn't make any moves, but when he does, it's a killing move. We can't defend against it, and he knows martial arts. Before Zheng Guodong finished his words, he suddenly looked up. As far as he could see, a black silhouette was leaping towards their location. Wasn't that person Fang Yin, who he suspected? Fang Yin had a rope woven from tree vines tied around his waist, and one end of the rope was tied to the trunk of a big tree. He grabbed the rope and put down step by step toward the notch where Zheng Guodong was. When he was looking for the rope, he had already heard the conversation between Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chen Tao. He heard the three of them guessing who was behind them, and he really felt a little guilty for them. This time, they had suffered an undeserved calamity. They were implicated by their own actions, which was why they were kicked down. They were just bait to lure him out. But when he heard that these little bastards had offended so many people and done so many shameful things, he felt that it was good to teach them a lesson. When he heard that Zheng Guodong actually suspected him, he had the urge to turn around and go back to sleep. I'm an upright teacher, okay? Would I do something that was tasteless and would bring trouble to myself? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Seeing that Fang Yin had come to save him, Li Yang was overjoyed and shouted, Mr. Fang, is that you? Are you here to save us? Fang Yin almost missed his step and hit his head on the cliff. Please, use your knees to think. If I'm not here to save you, am I here to kill you? Chen Tao cried again and shouted, Mr. Fang, save me. My hand is broken. My hand is broken. Shut up, Fang Yin shouted. Lower your voice. Chen Tao, you shut up. Don't attract those men in black again. Li Yang also reprimanded. Mr. Fang, do you think I'm right? Chen Tao really shut up. What's right? Fang Yin said snappily. I just think it's annoying when he cries. Fang Yin took the lead and jumped to Li Yang's side. He untied the rattan rope around his waist and tied their bodies together tightly. Then he said to Li Yang, when I take you up, remember to hug me. Hug me tightly. Li Yang understood and quickly put his hand around Fang Yin's neck and put his legs on Fang Yin's waist. The two hugged each other face to face, and there was no gap between them. When it came to life and death, he would not take it lightly. Fang Yin carried the rattan rope and prepared to climb up. He thought about it and untied the rope around his waist and said, I'll tie you behind my back. Chapter 124. Fang Yin tied Li Yang behind him and slowly carried him up with a rattan rope. Then he went down again and carried Chen Tao up as well. Chen Tao grabbed Fang Yin's arm and cried, Mr. Fang, my hand is broken, my hand is broken. Please save me. I'm dying. Fang Yin touched Chen Tao's arm and asked, Are you afraid of pain? Yes, Chen Tao said. That's good. As Fang Yin spoke, he held Chen Tao's arm with one hand and pushed and pulled with the other hand. There was a crisp crack sound and Chen Tao's pig-like howl. Chen Tao's hand was fixed. If you're not very busy, try to see if you can move your arm first. Fang Yin said to Chen Tao, who was screaming with his mouth open. Chen Tao shook his head and cried even more miserably. He said, Mr. Fang, it's really broken this time. It hurts. Fang Yin saw that Chen Tao did not dare to move. He grabbed Chen Tao's hand and pulled it back and forth. Then he raised it up and waved it like a lucky cat. He said, It's fixed. Chen Tao opened his eyes and looked at it. It was really fixed. Although it was very painful, his arm and fingers could move freely. It was not like when he was down there, he could not feel them at all. His brain could not command them at all. Mr. Fang really fixed it, Chen Tao said happily. No matter what kind of contradiction he had with Fang Yin in the past, or how much hatred he had for him in his heart, at this moment, he was sincerely grateful to Fang Yin. At the critical moment, a man tied a tree vine and pulled you back from a dangerous situation. How could you resist and ignore such help? Li Yang sat on the ground and looked at Fang Yin, who was treating Chen Tao's arm. Li Yang's eyes were empty. He didn't know what he was thinking or if he hadn't woken up from the nightmarish incident that happened tonight. Fang Yin stood up and said to Chen Tao and Liang, "Can you two walk?" Chen Tao stood up and walked a few steps before saying, "Mr. Fang, I'm fine." "I'm fine too," Liang said. "Then let's go back," Fang Yin said. "Go back?" Chen Tao and Liang looked at Fang Yin in surprise. "Go back just like that? What about Zheng Guodong? He was still down there and hadn't been rescued." "Mr. Fang, Zheng Guodong is still down there," Chen Tao said anxiously. "Who is Zheng Guodong?" Fang Yin asked. Because Fang Yin didn't lower his voice, Zheng Guodong, who was lying below, heard Fang Yan's words clearly. Hearing that, Fang Yin asked Chen Tao and Liang to go back and completely ignored his existence. He was so angry that he shouted, "Fang Yin, you bastard, you beast, you bastard. You want to kill me. You are using your power to avenge your private grudge. You just want me to die. Fang Yin, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. My father won't let you go, and the police won't let you go." Silence. It was dead silence. In addition to the whistling of the mountain wind and the occasional chirping of birds and insects, Zheng Guodong's shouting got no response from anyone. "Gone? Really gone?" Zheng Guodong almost collapsed. "Fang Yin, you bastard, you want to kill me, you want to kill me. Liang, you traitor, you are ungrateful, you are not a good thing. Chen Tao, you dare to leave me behind and run away. When I get out, I will make you suffer. I will make you all die a horrible death." Fang Yin stood on the edge of the cliff, looked at the two young students standing in front of him with pale faces, and said, "Now do you see what kind of person he is? I can understand that you didn't know before. Now if you still don't know, it only proves that you are stupid. It doesn't matter if a person is simple or stupid, but if he is stupid, he will hurt others and himself." Chen Tao opened his mouth again and again, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. Liang looked at the bottom of the cliff and then looked at Fang Yin and said in a weak voice, "Mr. Fang, save him. No matter what, he is your student." "I don't think so." Fang Yin sneered. "I can't be everyone's teacher, but not everyone is worthy of being my student. I have a reputation to cherish, and I have feathers to protect. I am selfless, and I am willing to impart my knowledge to you selflessly. I am also selfish, and I don't want to nail myself to the pillar of shame in history because of a fly." Fang Yin glanced at the bottom of the cliff and said, "I think he is definitely not willing to recognize me as his teacher." Liang and Chen Tao were silent. They understood Zheng Guodong's character, and they also knew what they had done to Fang Yin. If it hadn't happened tonight, the two of them would probably be plotting with Zheng Guodong on how to expel Fang Yin from the school. "However, I will still save him," Fang Yin said. "Thank you, Mr. Fang." Liang said, "You are great. In the past, we really let you down. Mr. Fang, we have done a lot of wrong things. I hope you can forgive." Chen Tao also said with a face full of guilt, "I have to save him." Fang Yin smiled bitterly. "I brought him out, so I have a responsibility to bring him back, no matter how much I dislike him. You two wait up there for a while," Fang Yin said. Then he pulled the vine rope again and climbed down to save the guy who was still shouting. The sky had just revealed a touch of white, and the students of Class 9 had already gathered at the entrance of the hotel. When Huang Haoren called the roll, Zheng Guodong and his two King Kong, Liang and Chen Tao, did not appear, and everyone was used to it. The three of them were the oddities of the school, and usually they never put the rules and regulations in their eyes. Because of their strong background, the teachers of the school could not do anything about it, so they could only let them be. Mr. Fang, Zheng Guodong, Liang, and Chen Tao are not here. The rest are all here. Huang Haoren ran to Fang Yin and reported. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were also among the students, but they were not on the list of Class 9. "It's okay," Fang Yin said with a smile. "What happened last night was still confidential for the time being, and it could not be known by other students." Zheng Guodong, Liang, and Chen Tao were frightened, and it was not easy for them not to go home that night. Now that they were not willing to participate in the activity, it was understandable. At this moment, Liang and Chen Tao ran out of the hotel. Chen Tao ran while zipping up his hoodie. The two of them quickly ran to Fong Yin and apologized. Mr. Fong, sorry, we got up late. Everyone looked at Li Yang and Shan Tao strangely. Did something happen to them today? They were not with Zheng Guodong, and they took the initiative to apologize to Mr. Fong Yin because they came late? It was too strange. Fong Yin looked at Li Yang and Chun Tao and asked, "Are you okay?" "It's okay," Chun Tao said. "We also want to follow everyone to see the sunrise. Let's go. Let's go to Line Gorge," Fong Yin said with a smile. "However, I have a condition. I promise you to go to see the sunrise, and you must help me take care of your own safety. Is that okay?" "Mr. Fong, don't worry. We will pay attention." "Yes, don't mess around. Don't cause trouble for Mr. Fong. Whatever Mr. Fong says, we will do it." Fong Yin waved his hand and said with a smile, "Don't be nervous, everyone. I'm just giving you a kind reminder. You enjoy this rare scenery, and I will always be with you." So, with Tangxing leading the team in front and Fong Yin at the back, a group of people walked toward the best scenic spot, Line Gorge. When the dark sky was torn apart, the white of the fish's belly turned into the white of the fish's scales, then the fish's body, then the white became goose yellow became light red, and light red became deep red. A red sun slowly appeared on the horizon of the Grand Canyon. The students exclaimed, and more people took out their mobile phones to take photos. Some people stood together in groups of 3 to 5 and asked other students to help take photos. Everyone was having a good time. Fong Yin stood behind the railing and looked at the scene of the rising sun, surrounded by mist. He felt like a seed was germinating and weeds were growing wildly in his heart. A beautiful picture of a red sun rising in the east appeared in his mind. His dantian became hot again, and the heart of Tai Chi, which had been immersed for a while, started to rotate again. Moreover, this time, the speed of rotation was even faster, and it was even more forceful. It wasn't as intermittent as before. Instead, it connected into a long, thin line. This long line ran through his whole body, flowing through every meridian and impacting every acupoint in his body. It was numb and itchy, as if he was sunbathing. Fong Yin felt very comfortable, and every pore of his body was in a state of excitement. He had a strong impulse to do a round of Tai Chi on the summit of Xixia Mountain. He thought so, and so he did. He drew a circle with the tip of his foot and held the circle with both hands, stretching his body infinitely. With one foot as the core, he slowly danced along the rotation of the heart of Tai Chi, indomitable spirit, standing in the center like a boundless elephant. Fong Yin recited the song and held the circle horizontally with both hands. With a flash of inspiration, the Tai Chi will move in all directions. He turned his head slightly, then his waist and arms. His left and right palms flew up and down, and it was hard to see with the naked eye. Just then, an early butterfly landed in the center of his palm. Every blade of grass and every tree had life. Every insect and every fish had spirituality. Fong Yin smiled at the butterfly and then let it move up and down in his palm. He stretched out his hands and shook his arms up and down according to the frequency of the butterfly's flapping wings, rising and falling, borrowing the force of the butterfly. Every time the butterfly gathered its strength and was about to fly, it happened to be offset by his strength. When the butterfly's body fell, it was pushed high into the sky by his rebound force. The green mountains and clear waters were shining, and the sun was shining. Fong Yin, who was dressed in white, was handsome and elegant, like an elegant young master living in seclusion in a deep valley. Chapter 125. Fong Yin opened his palm, and his arm rose and fell up and down. The butterfly was like a boat in the sea, being tossed up and down and unable to escape. He exerted his strength lightly, and his posture was freehand. The man and nature were integrated into one, like a beautiful landscape painting. "Look!" Yuan Lin pulled the arm of Jiang Qin, who was excitedly taking photos of the red sun, and pointed to Fong Yin not far away and shouted. Jiang Qin turned around, and his eyes lit up instantly. He was immediately fascinated by the scene in front of him. At this time, Fang Yin danced with the wind, and the red light all over the sky enveloped him. He was ethereal like a hidden master or a peerless immortal. So handsome. Yuan Lin's eyes were also full of little stars. Uncle is so handsome. I didn't expect a man who does Tai Chi to be so charming. Jiang Qin was silent and did not answer. He just stared at Fang Yin not far away with burning eyes. Sweetheart, say something. Are you stunned? Yuan Lin grabbed Jiang Qin's arm and said. She hoped that what she said could get Jiang Qin's response and resonance. Jiang Qin's silence made her very disappointed. Not only handsome, Jiang Qin said. His eyes never left Fang Yin. What is that? Temperament, Jiang Qin said. I don't think I'll be able to see such a temperament in any other guy ever again. Yuan Lin thought about it and said with annoyance, it's really annoying. Everyone came out to watch the sunrise together, which was the most exciting thing for Tangqing. Because when everyone came out together, Qin Yitian would also come out. When Qin Yitian came out, he would have the opportunity to watch the sunrise alone with her. Of course, as the famous school hunk in the school, he was embarrassed to show all his happiness on his face. Today, Tangcheng deliberately chose a set of white clover sportswear, which made him look outstanding in the crowd, like a dazzling and proud white swan. As soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted the cheers of many girls in the class. Tangcheng had always been by Qin Yitian's side. Being able to watch the sunrise with his beloved girl would definitely leave a sweet and deep memory in her heart. Decades later, she could even take it out to drink. Qin Yitian looked at the rising red sun in the Grand Canyon, as if he was stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of him. He did not speak for a long time. Tangqing really wanted to ask someone to take a group photo for them, but he was afraid that it would disturb Qin Yitian's mood, so he couldn't ask. Therefore, Qin Yitian didn't speak, and neither did he. Qin Yitian looked at the scenery in front of him attentively, while Tangqing looked at Qin Yitian attentively. You stand on the bridge and look at the scenery. The person who looks at the scenery is looking at you from the bridge. Tangqing suddenly thought of this poem. At this moment, he was deeply moved. Qin Yitian sighed softly, and his line of sight finally moved away from the picture of the rising sun. Nature is really great. Man can conquer nature. It is nothing more than the arrogant delusion of us mortals. Tangqing was overjoyed. He finally waited for the opportunity and said, Qin Yitian, shall we take a photo together? Worried that Qin Yitian would not agree, he added, the other students are taking photos. Okay. Qin Yitian readily agreed. Tangcheng waved his hand and shouted, Fang Hong, come and help us take a photo. Fang Hong trotted over and asked, do you want to use my camera or your mobile phone? Use my mobile phone, Tangcheng said. He was worried that if he used someone else's mobile phone or camera, these guys would secretly save a copy of Qin Yitian's photo. They would definitely do so. It should be known that Qin Yitian would not take a photo with anyone easily. Fang Hong took Tangqing's mobile phone and said, are you ready? Tangqing and Qin Yitian turned around and prepared to take a photo with their backs to the red sun. Tangqing thought about it and stood closer to Qin Yitian. He thought about it again and stood closer. He wanted to be closer, but he did not dare to move this time. Get ready, Fang Hong shouted. At this moment, someone shouted, look at Mr. Fang. Oh, look, it's really Mr. Fang. Teacher Fang is doing Tai Chi. He's so cool. Hearing everyone's voice, Qin Yitian also looked in the direction of Fang Yin. Her eyes were full of affection, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, with a heartwarming smile. Fang Hong also wanted to see teacher Fang Yin do Tai Chi, but since he was entrusted by someone, he must do the things at hand first. So he shouted, Tangcheng, are you two ready? Tangcheng looked at Qin Yitian's side face and saw that when she stood with him, she turned her head to look at another man seriously and attentively. He saw the joy and obsession in her eyes. How could such a scene be taken? Even if it was taken, it would be a great irony to himself, right? Tangcheng waved his hand and said weakly, for the time being, let's not take photos. It had to be said that this scene was too surprising. Just now, The students of Class 9 took out their cameras and mobile phones to take photos of the red sun and the beautiful scenery of Xixia in the early morning. Now, everyone pointed the camera at Fong Yin, who was doing Tai Chi, and moved the shutter. Click! Even Qin Etienne, who never took photos, took out a special mobile phone, adjusted the focus, and froze the picture of Fong Yin doing Tai Chi. Even some tourists who deliberately stayed at Xixia Mountain to watch the sunrise took out their mobile phones and kept taking photos when they saw Fong Yin, who was an anomaly. Someone said happily, Xixia Mountain is developing better and better. The last time we came, they didn't specially send people out to do Tai Chi for us. I didn't make a mistake asking you to come here, did I? Fong Yin was so lost in his own world that he couldn't hear the praises and comments of his friend around him. He didn't even notice that they were taking photos of him. He followed the guidance of the heart of Tai Chi and performed the moves of Tai Chi in his mind. Fong Yin was Tai Chi, and Tai Chi was Fong Yin. With the heart of Tai Chi as a medium, he finally became one with Tai Chi again and became a complete ball. He could adjust his breathing, and he could look inside his body. Under Fong Yan's waving, the power of Tai Chi in the heart of Tai Chi circulated faster and faster. The stream turned into a stream, and the stream gathered into a river. The river rushed through every meridian and acupoint in his body. There was a mist around Fong Yin, and his body was steaming. The heat and the mist condensed together. Fong Yan's entire body was drenched in sweat, and his clothes were completely soaked. However, his complexion was rosier, and his skin was whiter and more translucent, showing a translucent state. After playing with the butterfly for a while, Fong Yin raised his hands and shouted, "Up!" The colorful butterfly suddenly felt that the heavy binding on its body was lifted. It flapped its wings and flew into the sky. It circled above Fong Yan's head twice, then flew into the distance and disappeared in an instant. Fong Yin drew a circle in front of him with the tip of his foot, and his body slowly retracted. He stood at attention, then gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The practice of Tai Chi made him feel refreshed, and his body felt relaxed and comfortable as if it had been reborn. The fist style ended, but the heart of Tai Chi was still working normally. Although it wasn't as turbulent as before, it didn't break, and it still existed. He knew that after this incident, his heart of Tai Chi had finally been completely activated. Fong Yin was extremely excited. The trip to Mount Xinxia was not in vain. "Mr. Fong, wipe your sweat." Jiang Qin trotted over and handed over the handkerchief he borrowed from Yuan Lin. Yuan Lin wanted to do it herself, but she beat him to it. Fong Yin refused and said, "No need. I'm sweaty all over, and I don't want to ruin your beautiful handkerchief. You can go back to your room and take a bath." "Let me do it." Qin Etienne walked over and took the handkerchief from Jiang Qin's hand. He naturally helped Fong Yin wipe the sweat on his face. Fong Yin was speechless. "Qin Etienne, can't you get permission from others before you do anything?" Jiang Qin was even more speechless. She even felt a little aggrieved. "I borrowed the handkerchief from my friend. Why should I give it to you?" She even wanted to yell at Qin Etienne, but when she saw Qin Etienne's carefree manner, as if everything was supposed to be like this, she couldn't say what she wanted to say. It really took courage to face such an opponent. All right. Fong Yin took the handkerchief from Qin Etienne's hand. I'll do it myself. The other students crowded around and praised Fong Yin at the same time. They praised Fong Yin as if he was the only one in the world. Fong Yin said that he was just playing, but he was very happy in his heart. Didn't people live for a face and a mouth? The other tourists also gathered around, wanting to take photos with the Tai Chi performer Fong Yin. Among them, there were many beautiful tourists who came alone. Of course, Fong Yan's students rejected them on his behalf. They also explained that Fong Yin was just a teacher, not a Tai Chi performer on Xixia Mountain. Only then did they leave with regret. A middle-aged man wearing glasses came over, looked at Fong Yin, and said, "Sir, can I have a word with you?" Fong Yin looked at him carefully and said, "I don't know you. Why should I have a word with you? Who are you? What can I do for you?" The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Sir, I'm a talent scout. I saw your Tai Chi performance just now, and I think you are very talented. I want to invite you to shoot a movie." Talent scout? Shoot a movie? Fong Yin looked at the middle-aged man in surprise and asked excitedly, "I just waved my hands casually, and I was chosen by a talent scout? Can I enter the entertainment circle, join a beauty group, get to know a big star, and casually act in a movie to earn more than $1 billion? Sir," the middle-aged man was speechless. "I think you think too much." Chapter 126. Why am I overthinking it? Fong Yin said angrily, "If others can do it, why can't I? Sir, Tang Tian Wang is a legend in our entertainment circle. No one has been able to break the record he has created until now. I think I could do it too." Fong Yin said, "Find me a group of beauties and let me join. Sir, I'm also very good-looking. It's not a problem for me to dress up as a woman. Sir, are you really a talent scout? Yes. Then you can't see that I have the potential in this area? Sir, to tell you the truth." The middle-aged man was on the verge of collapse. "I don't see it. You insulted me like this, and you still want to borrow a step from me? I have something very important to talk to you about. Isn't it just filming? You still have a nerve to ask me to be the lead in a movie that can't get $1 billion in the box office? Sir, we're not looking for you to be the lead. Well, we want to work with you on some details." "How detailed? Shoot some MV scenes." Fong Yin shook his head and said no. "First, I won't take on movies that aren't big investments. Second, I can't trust you. I know the talent scouts are all on the street. When they see a beautiful girl, they rush up and say, 'Miss, I think you have a lot of potential. Would you like to go back with me to make a movie?' Then they take her to a very remote and dilapidated room for an interview, saying that they want to test your acting skills and comprehension, and then they ask the girl to take off her clothes. You're not trying to sleep with me, are you? Sir, we don't have such considerations. Our Huaxing Entertainment is a big company. It's impossible for us to do such a thing. Who knows?" Fong Yin sneered. "When the time comes, if I'm really deceived by you, I won't be able to answer even if I cry for help. How could I guarantee my innocence?" The middle-aged man knew that he had to tell the truth. He glanced around and said in a low voice, "Sir, I'm actually not a talent scout. I'm Miss Xia's agent. I want to talk to you." Xia. Fong Yin felt that the name was a little familiar. "I don't know her either." The middle-aged man's face turned ugly and said, "Do you really not know Miss Xia? Stop joking, okay? How could there be someone who didn't know Miss Xia?" "Sir, I personally think that this is a good thing for you. It's a great opportunity for many people. If you can get Miss Xia's appreciation." "I still don't understand what you mean," Fong Yin said. "You just said that you're a talent scout, and now you say that you're a woman's manager. What are you trying to do?" "One should be honest," Fong Yin said. "You lied to me once, and you want me to believe your lies a second time? All right, I'm very busy. Our conversation ends here." The middle-aged man was anxious. He took out a business card from his pocket and said, "Sir, take a look. I'm really Miss Xia Tian's agent. My name is Zhang Wei. It's like this. Miss Xia Tian happened to be shooting at Xixia Mountain today. She saw you performing Tai Chi in the morning light just now. She's very interested in you and wants to talk to you about choosing such a scene in her new song." All right. Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "Everyone is so busy. Let's not waste each other's time. You still want to continue lying, and I still have to take the students to breakfast. I'll take your business card. Let's talk next time." Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "That's it. Bye." Zhang Wei's face was full of regret as he said, "If you change your mind, you can call me at any time." "You're thinking too much," Fong Yin said. He was very angry when Zhang Wei said that he was thinking too much. Now, he finally had the chance to take revenge for this despicable act. What? A beautiful voice was full of doubt. A beautiful woman in a white ancient gown asked in surprise. "He's not willing?" "Yes," Zhang Wei said helplessly. "I sent him the most sincere invitation, but he still refused." "Zhang Wei, you don't have. Is there a problem with your attitude?" Xia Tian knew that as she became more and more famous, the temper of the people around her also increased. Because she was kind-hearted and fond of old friendships, She was not willing to reprimand them easily, let alone dismiss them. Therefore, sometimes the attitude of the people around her would cause some people to have some prejudice against her. "Miss, how could I do such a thing? How can I not know your temper?" Zhang Wei said innocently. "I know Miss wants to cooperate with him. My attitude is really good, but he just doesn't want to. Why not? What right does he have?" The assistant, who was busy putting on makeup for Xia Tian, said angrily. "Our sister Xia Tian can cooperate with anyone." Sister Xia Tian took the initiative to invite him, but he was not willing. He really doesn't know what's good for him. If I were to go, I would definitely scold him to death. Man, Xia Tian comforted softly. "Don't say such things next time. Everyone has their own ambitions. We can't force others. I'm just angry at that person's arrogant attitude," the assistant said with grievance. Xia Tian smiled and asked, "Why didn't he agree?" "At first, I didn't want to expose Mrs. whereabouts, so I said that I was a talent scout and wanted to invite him to film. He refused." "That's not true. But his request was too much." "What request? If we can discuss it, we can also make up for it." "He said that he only accepts movies with large investments. If the box office doesn't exceed 1 billion, don't look for him," Zhang Wei said with a sense of revenge. "What? 1 billion box office? Does he think he's Heavenly King Tang?" "That's right. Isn't he overestimating himself?" "Sister Xia, he can't be a madman, right?" "It must be." Zhang Wei's words caused a group of people around Xia to explode. All of them attacked and condemned Feng Yin, the guy who had spoken arrogantly. Feng Yuancheng, a famous domestic male star and the male lead of the ancient costume drama Divine Furnace, sneered and said, "I've been in this circle for 5 or 6 years, and I only dare to say that I'm familiar with it. This guy wanted a box office of 1 billion. Does he think he's a superstar?" "Sister Xia, don't you want to choose the male lead for your new song, MTV? If you think it's suitable, I'll go over and act for you. I don't need a single cent. I'll pay for the plane ticket myself." Feng Yuancheng had always admired Xia. This was no secret in the circle. It wasn't strange at all that he wanted to act for Xia's new song, MTV. Xia smiled silently and said, "Thank you, Remote. If it's suitable, I'll definitely invite you to help me. But that person is really good." The scene of him standing on the top of the mountain doing Tai Chi was really unforgettable. "You know, my new song wants to try a classical style. It's just a fancy fist and a show of legs," Feng Yuanqing said. "Give me a few days of training, and I can also play as well as him. I'll go visit the famous Tai Chi master, Mr. Zheng Longjian, and learn a few moves from him. I'll definitely be stronger than that kid." Xia smiled and said, "It's too troublesome to be long distance. This matter will be put aside for now. Since there's no chance, let's talk about it later." Everyone saw that Xia didn't want to talk about this topic anymore. It must have been that man's refusal that made Xia lose face and annoyed her. Thus, the director immediately walked over and said, Xia, I'll show you this scene again. Actually, this scene is very simple. It's just that you and the long distance met at the top of the mountain where the sun rose, and then both sides fought because of a misunderstanding. The long distance pretended to be defeated by you and fell off the cliff. You were very anxious. After Zhang Wei left, Jiang Qin came over and asked, "Mr. Fong, who is that person? Why did he look for you?" First, he said he was a talent scout looking for me to shoot a movie. Then he told me he was Xia's agent. I sent him away. Fong Yin said. Jiang Qin took the business card and looked at it. He said, "It seems that it really says he's Xia's agent. If only it was. I love Xia. However, this person must be lying. How could Xia be here? Is that Xia very famous?" Fong Yin asked. "He's too famous," Jiang Qin said excitedly. "She's definitely the most popular celebrity in China. I love every single one of her shows. By the way, her singing is also very good. She has the nickname of Golden Song Queen. That's why I said it couldn't be her. Forget about her. Let's go eat. After dinner, you guys go back with our car. I'll take them back to school. You guys go home and say hello to your parents." "No," Jiang Qin said with a pout. "Why not?" "I'm going to see where you live." I'll go find you when I have time. You're still my tutor. Don't you want to fulfill your responsibilities now? Next time, Fong Yin refused. I still have a lot of things to do today. I brought the students out, and I have to bring them back safely. I also have to report to the school leaders, and there are friends waiting for me to receive. Next time, I'll definitely invite you to my house next time. Okay, Jiang Qin said helplessly. I'm telling you, I'll definitely go. Definitely, definitely. Fong Yin said, as if he was promising. At this moment, a strong smell of alcohol came. Burning knives. Even though Fong Yin hadn't tasted this kind of strong liquor for a long time, he could still smell the familiar smell of this liquor. How could there be the smell of burning knives at the top of Xinxiang Mountain, which was thousands of meters above the ground? When the morning dew filled the air, Fong Yin followed the smell of alcohol and saw a long-haired man holding a huge bronze wine gourd drinking on a big rock more than 10 meters away. The big man sat cross-legged on the rock, drank a mouthful of strong liquor, and glanced at the sunrise. His posture was arrogant, and his expression was relaxed. It made people feel strange, but also gave people a feeling of grandeur. Chapter 127. Fong Yan's eyes were slightly cold as he said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, "You two go back to the hotel with them for breakfast. I still have some personal matters to deal with." Jiang Qin didn't notice the danger and wanted to continue to stay with Fong Yan. She asked puzzledly, "What else is there? I feel a little uncomfortable." Fong Yin said while holding his stomach. He looked like he was in unbearable pain. "Hateful," Jiang Qin said coquettishly. "How did the Grandmaster of a generation become an unlucky guy with diarrhea in the blink of an eye? Can you maintain a beautiful and lofty image in other people's hearts for a longer time?" Of course, in Jiang Qin's view, the current Fong Yin was also very beautiful and lofty. Was it reality another kind of beautiful and lofty? Jiang Qin pointed to the front and said, "I saw a toilet at the corner over there. You go there quickly. If you come back late, there won't be anything to eat. You guys eat first. Don't wait for me," Fong Yin said with a smile. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fong Yin and laughed as they chased after the ninth class. After a short period of time, they were already very familiar with Fong Yan's students. Even if they weren't familiar, the boys were very attentive to these two little Lolas. The girls also thought they were beautiful and cute. In addition, they were outgoing and sweet talkers, so it was easy for them to get along with the similarly young ninth class students. When all the students left, the people on the gorge were almost gone. Fong Yin walked toward the slope of the mountain and stood at the bottom of the slope. He looked up at the long-haired man sitting on the big rock and said, "Drinking liquor and watching the sun. It's really carefree and comfortable." The long-haired man raised his head and drank a mouthful of liquor. His throat was trembling. Perhaps it was because he drank too fast or because the liquor was too spicy, but his face suddenly turned red. Poochie! He spat out a mouthful of hot knife in his mouth and wiped the corner of his mouth with his dirty gray sleeve. He looked quite miserable. Fong Yin laughed and pointed at the long-haired man, saying, "You're at most half a kilogram. Why did he have to imitate that old drunkard and pretend to be a drunkard? Listen to my suggestion. Find an image designer to help you redesign your image. The vicissitudes of life and despair are not suitable for you." The long-haired man said angrily, "He used to be my idol. It was still the same now. It's not like I'm going to choke every time I drink so much. Besides, I'm not here to compete with you in drinking." "Then what are you doing here?" "Murder." "Kill who?" "Kill you." "Why?" "I was entrusted by someone. You haven't cut your hair for a long time. 2 years, 4 months, and 27 days. Since the day I lost to you, I've been ignoring you. Have you never washed your clothes?" "I changed it and washed it. I washed it and wore it again." The long-haired man was a little embarrassed. It was as if he had done something wrong to Fong Yin. Fong Yin glared and scolded, "Bailey Liu, you liar. You didn't keep your promise. What was the agreement during the game? In this game, no matter who is the loser, before he defeats his opponent again, he can't cut his hair or wash his clothes. Did you do that?" "What can I do?" Bailey Liu retorted with a red face and neck. What can I do?" I can cut my hair, but I don't wash my clothes. They're all rotten. I can smell the stench from 100 miles away. My father is guarding the door with a long spear and won't let me in. What can I do? Can I still wear those clothes? That's something you have to solve. What does it have to do with me? You secretly wash the clothes. That's cheating. I cheated, but I told you frankly. If it were you, would you be able to do it? You also know how to act shamelessly. You're framing me. Fang Yin waved his arms and said, I have nothing to do with your sister, but you said that if there was a chance, I would peep at her bathing. But did I do such a thing? No. Did I want to do such a thing? I never did. You dare to bully my sister. Bailey Liu suddenly jumped up from the big rock and said, Let's fight again today to avenge the defeat of 2 years, for months, and 27 days. Fang Yin, on the top of Xinxiao Mountain, will fight to the death. Fang Yin shook his head and sighed, saying, Today is not the right time to fight to the death. Let's fight another day. Why not? If we didn't talk so much nonsense at the beginning and fought to the death, it would be exciting and pleasing to the eye. We would show the demeanor of a master. Now you deliberately teased me by talking so much nonsense, which suddenly destroyed the tense atmosphere. Would Shimin Shueishue and Yigu Cheng talk so much nonsense before the fight? Bailey Liu thought for a while and said no. Would Dongfang Bubi talk so much nonsense before the fight with Rinwushing? Bailey Liu thought again and said no. Who would talk so much nonsense before the fight? Who would? Hooligans and aunties from the vegetable market. Are you willing to fight like hooligans and aunties from the vegetable market? No. Then let's go back. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, Pick a good day next time and we'll fight to the death. Bailey Liu refused and said, I'm not leaving. Since I'm here, I can't just leave like this. I promised someone that I would kill you. If I leave, you'll definitely brag to others that you defeated a strong enemy with just a few words, that you didn't need to use your hands to fight, and that you'll make a fool of yourself by using your hands. Others will call me a coward. I won't fall for your trick. Am I that kind of person? Fang Yin was hopping mad. You are that kind of person. Bailey Liu's face was full of disdain. I challenged you for the first time when I was 17 years old. You said you weren't feeling well today and asked me to come back 3 days later. I just walked out of your house, and you let people spread the news that I was defeated by you in one move and had to flee. It's not the first time you've done this kind of thing. Fang Yan's face was full of awkwardness and said, It's a misunderstanding. That incident was a misunderstanding. Those bastards asked me if I had a chance of winning against you, and I said I could defeat the enemy in one move. In the end, those guys went out and bragged. How can I casually joke around with my reputation? I don't care. You must fight with me today. Bailey Liu said stubbornly. Fang Yin hesitated for a while, then gritted his teeth and said, Fine, then I'll casually beat you up. Let me say this first. Today is not the day to fight to the death. Before Fang Yan's voice faded, a huge gourd had already flown towards where he was standing. Boom! The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. It felt like the whole earth was shaking. The loud sound reverberated in their ears, almost piercing their eardrums. Grass and trees flew, and gravel turned to dust. At the place where Fang Yin had just stood, the heavy wine gourd had smashed a big round pit. Bailey Liu, you dare to sneak up on me. Fang Yin waved away the dust and smoke in front of him and shouted, If I don't sneak up on you, then it's your turn to sneak up on me. As Bailey Liu spoke, his huge body had already leaped down from the big rock. His big feet stepped heavily on the side of the wine gourd. With a flick of his toes, the wine gourd had already flown from the ground into his hand. Holding the handle of the gourd, he swung the huge wine gourd and smashed it towards Fang Yan's head. The people of the Bailey family were born with great strength. This half-solid copper gourd that weighed 108 kilograms was like a toy in his hands. Whoosh, whoosh, the wind howled wildly, carrying with it the power to destroy heaven and earth. With that blow just now, Fang Yin had already seen the power of this copper gourd. It could smash rocks and create a big pit on the hard concrete floor. How could flesh and blood resist it? Of course, Fang Yin would not fight it head-on. Fighting head-on would be a problem with his brain. However, blindly dodging was not an option. Bailey Lu's strength was unparalleled, and he could not use it up in a short while. If he allowed his attacks to form a momentum, then Fang Yin could only be placed in his momentum and be controlled by him in a passive state. Fang Yin needed to seize the momentum, and he needed to counterattack. Both his feet were on the ground, and his body was in a wobbly, tumbling state. Boom! The wine gourd was getting closer and closer, and the strong wind was blowing. Fang Yan's face was burning with pain. This was the result of being cut by the wind blade. It arrived in an instant. Fang Yan moved. His body leaned back, and both his feet were like nails that were rooted to the ground, not moving an inch. Whoosh! The wine gourd was swung over his upper body. Bailey Lu laughed out loud, and then took back the wine gourd in his hand. He raised it high and smashed it down toward the top of Fang Yan's head. Whoosh! Fang Yan's body only moved slightly to the side, and once again avoided the wine gourd's attack. Whoosh! This time, it was a direct attack from the side, and the position of the attack was also in the middle of the body, which was not easy to avoid. The chest. Whoosh! The fourth attack failed. Whoosh! The fifth attack missed again. Whoosh! 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 Fang Yan stretched out his hand. His slender right hand reached out towards the wine gourd. As if it had no bones, it stuck to the belly of the wine gourd. Tai Chi was a circle. The wine gourd was a circle. Tai Chi was the wine gourd, and the wine gourd was Tai Chi. Bailey Lu used all his strength, and he moved with little effort. Bailey Lu smashed with great force, and he swung the willow with the wind. He held a circle with one hand and drew a circle with the other. He formed a circle with one hand. As he drew, the wine gourd was already out of Bailey Lu's control and became a sharp weapon in Fang Yan's hand. Circle upon circle, and the man and Tai Chi became one. This was the true meaning of the heart of Tai Chi. The 108 kilograms copper wine gourd spun and jumped in Fang Yan's palm. Fang Yan did not use any strength, but he borrowed the strength of Bailey Lu and the weight of the wine gourd itself. Damn it! Bailey Lu lost his gourd, and with a loud roar, he rushed towards Fang Yan desperately. Fang Yan stretched out his left hand and pushed hard. Boom! The wine gourd spun at a speed that was hard to be seen by the naked eye, and then smashed towards Bailey Lu's body. Bang! Bailey Lu's body flew backward and fell towards the wine gorge not far away. Chapter 128. If he is strong, let him be strong, like a cool breeze caressing the hills. If he is unruly, let him be unruly, like the bright moon shining on the great river. If he is cruel, let him be evil. I will be full of vital energy. This sentence was from the Nine Yang Sutra in Jin Daxia's masterpiece, The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. Jin Daxia obviously didn't know Kung Fu, but some scholars believe that Jin Daxia must know Tai Chi, or that he was a researcher of Tai Chi culture, because what he said was almost a true portrayal of Tai Chi's technique of exerting force. Fang Yan was a descendant of the Tai Chi family. Although he thought that Tai Chi was broad and profound, it couldn't be summed up by Jin Daxia's words. However, he couldn't deny that using softness to overcome hardness was the core essence of Tai Chi. Using strength to fight strength. I won't use strength. Hitting an ox across the mountain won't hurt me. This was why Tai Chi looked powerful and pretentious. Compared to hard skills, soft skills were the most difficult to practice. Compared to a heavy sword, a soft sword was the most difficult to use. However, once it was learned, it would be invincible. Of course, this referred to the situation where the two sides were evenly matched. If the opponent's strength was higher, no matter how soft your soft skills were, you would be punched into pieces by the opponent. How could you have a chance to win? The Bailey family was famous for their strength, and Bailey Lu was the leader of the younger generation of the Bailey family. Therefore, he challenged Fang Yan's Tai Chi with brute force, which was a risk in itself, especially when Fang Yan's heart of Tai Chi was activated again. Bailey Lu let out a muffled groan. His huge body was heavily smashed by the wine gourd, and he flew towards the wine gorge. The gorge was unfathomable, and falling down was bound to be smashed. However, Fang Yan didn't stop there. He rushed to the side of the cliff and pulled out a road sign slate from the soil. Then, he held the slate and smashed it toward the place where Bailey Liu had just fallen. He proved with his own actions that hitting a person when he was down was not a moral problem at all. Falling off the cliff was the real scum. Boom! The slate whistled down, following Bailey Liu's body. Fang Yin was still worried. He moved his toes and threw the small stones on the ground towards the cliff. There's bound to be one piece of an inescapable net that can hurt you. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. Fang Yin hurriedly ran to the edge of the cliff, only to see that the 108 gene wine gourd was actually flying up from below. The sound just now came from the stone hitting the wine gourd. Fang Yin tapped the ground with his toes and jumped off the cliff. Both of his feet stepped on the body of the wine gourd. With a force of 1,000 gene, he was determined to make the wine gourd sink rapidly. Bang! Fang Yin's feet landed on top of the huge wine gourd. The wine gourd was suppressed by Fang Yin's strength and fell down the cliff like a swallow with a broken wing. The mountain wind whistled, and the white fog rolled. Dressed in white, Fang Yin stood on top of the wine gourd and descended rapidly between the mountain streams. He looked like a celestial deity riding on a flying gourd. After falling for several hundred meters, a loud shout suddenly came from below the wine gourd. Roar, a muffled roar that was suppressed to the extreme and exploded to the extreme was heard. Suddenly, an earth-shattering force came from the bottom of the wine gourd. Clang! The wine gourd's body trembled violently. Fang Yan's feet, which were standing on top of the wine gourd, also felt numb in pain. The wine gourd flew up into the sky like an unstoppable rocket. Even Fang Yan's body flew up from below the cliff. Clang! Another loud noise rang out. The wine gourd's ascent slowed down a little, then accelerated again. Clang! Another loud noise rang out. The wine gourd rushed even faster. Clang! 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 His head was bleeding, and his long hair disheveled. Bailey Liu looked like a wild man in the valley, or like an enraged ape monster. Punches after punches landed on the bottom of the wine gourd. He used his brutal body, his strong ability to stay in the air, and the strength of the rocks on the mountain walls, the rattan ropes, and the wine gourd's own driving force to rush forward, pressing forward with indomitable will. In the world of martial arts, only speed is unbeatable. In the world of martial arts, only strength is unbeatable. Great strength is unbeatable. Roar! Another bestial howl rang out. Clang! Bailey Liu's heaviest and most ruthless punch landed on the bottom of the wine gourd. Fang Yin, who was wearing shoes, felt that the wine gourd was boiling hot, as if it was about to burn and melt. His toes touched the ground, and his body floated diagonally towards the top of the cliff. Whether it was playing chess or fighting, the most frightening thing was that the two sides had a continuous momentum. After Bailey Liu's 9 punches, his attack had already formed momentum. Unstoppable. The wine gourd's ascent and his leap were already difficult to stop. All Fang Yin could do was to wait for his overlord's return at the top of the wide line gorge. Whoosh! Fang Yan's toes landed lightly on the ground, in a place that was hard to see with the naked eye. The stones that his feet stepped on turned into ashes, and the weeds turned yellow and withered into mud. The soles of his feet were emitting light smoke, as if his shoes were about to burn. It was not the shoes that were emitting smoke, but Fang Yan's feet that were emitting smoke. If he had not used the power of Taiji to resist, he would have been killed by Bailey Liu's defying God Fist when he was standing on top of the wine gourd. Taiji could borrow strength to fight, and so could the defying God Fist. As long as you practiced any kind of martial arts to the extreme, you could achieve the same result by different means. The Bailey family's divine fist was good at attack, while the Fang family's Taiji was good at defense. This was also the reason why the Bailey family repeatedly challenged the Fang family. When the world's sharpest spear met the world's strongest shield, what would the result be? This was the answer that everyone wanted to know. The Bailey family also wanted to prove to the outside world that attack was the best defense. Bang! Bailey Liu's body fell heavily, and his feet left 2 deep grooves on the hard concrete floor. The wine gourd continued to fly high into the sky, and then fell down after exhausting its strength. Bailey Lu stretched out one hand and held the wine gourd in his palm. He pulled out the cork and poured the whole bottle of liquor over his head. He opened his mouth and swallowed it. The liquor was emitting thick smoke, and it had already been warmed up by the random punches. The liquor was poured over his head, and the liquor went down his throat. Satisfying, really satisfying, ha ha. Bailey Lu shouted and laughed loudly, unrestrained and arrogant. Idiot. Fong Yin crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at him coldly. The good Daozi was ruined just like that. The liquor was so hot. Wasn't he afraid that it would burn his face? Of course, this was a problem that a handsome man should worry about. Maybe he didn't have to worry about this kind of problem with his looks. I really envy him. Fong Yin thought to himself. The Daozi in the copper pot spilled out, and Bailey Lu closed the cork again. He held the gourd and looked at Fong Yin with a smile and said sarcastically, Runner Fong, what you used just now was the heart of Taiji. That's right, Fong Yin said. It was the heart of Taiji. The rumor is a lie, Bailey Lu said angrily. The rumor is that because the heart of Taiji disappeared, you were worried that you would be beaten by Yi Gentle again, so you ran away in a panic? The rumor is wrong. Your heart of Taiji didn't disappear. So why did you do such a dirty thing? You lost the face of the Fong family and the dignity of us men. Runner Fong, do you know what people think of you now? Fong Yin smiled bitterly and said, How could I not know that you shouted so loudly? Runner Fong, is this the new nickname you gave me? Yes. Bailey Lu wiped the corner of his mouth, put a few drops of Daozi into his mouth, and tasted it. He said, Are you satisfied? Whether I'm satisfied or not, I can't run away from the nickname Runner Fong, right? Fong Yin said, If I'm not satisfied, you won't call me that? Impossible, Bailey Lu said. It was Yi Gentle who called me first. Fong Yin felt that his chest was stagnant, and he felt powerless as if his heart was being pressed by a heavy stone. Bailey Lu looked at Fong Yin in confusion and said, Since the heart of Taiji is still there, why did you run away? Were you still worried that you were no match for Yi Gentle when the heart of Taiji protected you? Of course not, Fong Yin denied. You won't believe the truth even if I tell you. What is the truth? To tell you the truth. Fong Yin glanced around vigilantly and said in a low voice, I have been competing with Yi Gentle for so many years, and I am used to being beaten by her every year. But this year has been my best year ever. I know that if we compete again, I will definitely knock her down and defeat her. I don't know why, but I'm not used to the thought of knocking her down. I think she must be very uncomfortable in her heart. She is such a proud woman, and she wins every year. She must be very disappointed when she suddenly loses, right? You don't want her to get hurt? No, you don't want her to be disappointed? Not at all. This is love, Bailey Lu said with absolute certainty. I knew many years ago that you would have such a day sooner or later. What day? Fong Yin widened his eyes. You mean, Yi Gentle and I are in love? Yes. Bailey Lu nodded seriously. Enemies, enemies. How can you be a family without hatred? You have been fighting for so many years, and it is natural that you like each other. Let me tell you, I knew you would have such a day when I was 18 years old. Although Yi Gentle is violent and unreasonable, she is actually quite beautiful. How about you two just make do with each other? I see. Fong Yin looked like he understood and said, No wonder I would rather skip class and run away than defeat her. It turns out that I was blinded by love. Bailey Lu, you have to keep it a secret from me. If you're really tired of holding it in, you can't talk to more than 3 people at most. After a pause, Fong Yin said, Of course, although I like Yi Gentle a little, I will not marry such an evil woman. Her violence is not worthy of my gentleness and kindness. Chapter 129. To any martial artist with feelings and self-respect, running away in the face of battle was the greatest humiliation. Fong ran. Thinking of this nickname, Fong Yin had the urge to cry. Why do I have to beat that violent woman? I have no grudge against her. I didn't peep at her when she was bathing or touch her breasts. Why we have to have a competition every year? Isn't it better to have a competition every 30 or 50 years? Everyone will have more time to prepare for the competition, and they won't have too much psychological pressure. Of course, it was also a shame for Fang Yin to fall in love with a woman like Yiro, a woman who would beat someone up over the head and make them unable to get out of bed for half a month. Who would like such a woman? Was such a woman still a woman? However, compared with running away, he was more afraid that others would say that he ran away because he couldn't beat Yiro. Although it was true, thus, he found a ridiculous and dignified reason for his departure. Because he liked Yiro and didn't want her to be hurt. He didn't want to beat her down and make her feel disappointed and regretful. Running away when you can't beat someone is a coward. If he labeled his escape as love, then Fang Yin would be a man of love and righteousness. Fang Yin secretly gave himself hundreds of likes in his heart. He felt that he was so smart. Bailey Lu stared at Fang Yin, dumbfounded. He thought to himself, how could he say such shameless words? However, thinking of his usual style of dealing with things, he felt that it was reasonable for him to do such a thing. She won't like you, Bailey Lu said. What? Yiro won't like you. People were like this. You could dislike a person, but you wanted everyone in the world to like you. This was especially true for many goddesses. They never thought of marrying a spare tire. But if the spare tire married another woman, the goddesses would still feel a little disappointed and angry. That was the mentality of Fang Ran. He never thought of being with Yiro. Thinking of this possibility, he would have nightmares at night. However, he was still angry when he heard Bailey Lu said that Yiro wouldn't like him. Why won't she like me? Why wouldn't she like me? Yiro said that her man must do 3 things. First, a man of indomitable spirit. Second, a true gentleman who keeps his word. Third, you can beat her. How am I not indomitable? Fang Yin said. How am I not a true gentleman who keeps his promises? How could I lose to her? I just haven't hit her yet. Bailey Lu's eyes became contemptuous, and he said, I don't think you can fulfill any of these 3 requests, can you? Fang Yin looked at Bailey Lu with a murderous look and said, I suddenly felt something. Do you like the feeling of Yiro? I feel like I won't rest until you're dead, Fang Yin said viciously. Some people don't know how to respect you unless you beat them up. Good. Bailey Lu laughed. Before I was asked to kill you, I was worried that your Taiji heart would disappear and I would have an unfair advantage. Since your Taiji heart is back in the fight just now, let's have a good fight. I won't rest until you're dead. I'm just saying. Before Fang Yin finished his sentence, Bailey Lu had already run toward him with a wine gourd that weighed more than 50 kilograms in one hand. Before he arrived, the fat gourd's belly had already smashed toward him. Boom! The strong wind whistled like a tiger's roar. Fang Yin stepped back and chose to avoid the first blow. Fang Yin stepped back, but Bailey Lu rushed forward faster and faster. The wine gourd in his hand was ready to be fired, and it kept threatening and pressuring Fang Yin. Bang! Fang Yin's body hit the stone mountain behind him. There was no way to retreat. It was extremely dangerous. Bang! The copper gourd smashed on the stone wall, where Fang Yin was without any pause. Crack! Crack! Gravel kept falling, and a long and thick crack appeared on the huge stone mountain. The cracks continued to extend, and countless fine cracks appeared in the stone. However, Fang Yin had disappeared. Bailey Lu didn't hesitate. He held the copper gourd in one hand and made a 90-degree hook with the other. Bang! Fang Yin's palm collided with Bailey Lu's punch, making a heavy sound. Fang Yin's clothes and hair were stained with dust, and there were several cuts on his face from the stones. He looked a little embarrassed. However, he magically appeared behind Bailey Lu. A palm lightly patted toward Bailey Lu's back, and it collided with Bailey Lu's punch. All these actions happened in an instant. In other words, Fang Yin flashed behind Bailey Lu and counterattacked with his palm, and Bailey Lu immediately blocked with his fist after his attack missed. When a so-called master reached a certain level, he no longer used his eyes to defeat the enemy. He relied on his intuition. Eyes can deceive, and feelings are your most honest and reliable friend. Bailey Lu wanted to disperse after one blow and reorganize a second attack. However, Fang Yin's palm was stuck on his wrist, and he went straight for his vital meridian. Whoosh! Fong Yin hit the vital meridian point on Bailey Lu's wrist. Bailey Lu's body was exhausted, and the wine gourd in his right hand immediately fell to the ground. Fong Yin didn't stop at all. When Bailey Lu lost the ability to attack, he punched Bailey Lu's chest. His ribs were broken, and he really lost the ability to fight. This trick again. Bailey Lu grinned. It was a sly smile, as if his plan had succeeded. He clenched his fist with one hand, and the fist became extremely huge, and there was a faint red light flashing. Soon, his fist turned crimson, like a heated sledgehammer. Not only his fist, but even his arm had turned blue and black. This was a sign before it turned red. Fong Yin was shocked. They hadn't seen each other for a long time, and Bailey Lu's God-defying fist had already reached his arm. Wherever the God-defying fist was practiced, that part could break mountains and crush stones as hard as steel. If this was the case, then the fact that he grabbed his wrist meridian was a trap. It was a flaw that he deliberately revealed. His body losing strength and throwing away the gourd was also a disguise to deceive Fong Yin into letting his guard down. At this moment, Bailey Lu's hand that was holding the gourd reached out and grabbed Fong Yin's shoulder blade. Dragon God Lock. It could even lock a dragon god, let alone a small loach like Fong Yin. Bang! Fong Yin's stomach was hit, and the pain almost made him vomit the dinner he had last night. Knee strike. Bang! Another knee strike. Bang! The third strike. Fong Yin felt dizzy, and he wanted to vomit. He had the urge to faint on the spot. He knew that if he really fainted on the ground, Bailey Lu would not hesitate to grab his legs and throw him into the gorge. Although the two of them seemed to be very close on the outside, as if they were old friends for many years. However, they both knew that when the real battle began, neither of them would show mercy to the other. New hatred and old hatred. They would not rest until one of them died. Bailey Lu lifted his calf again. He had already pressed Fong Yin's body lower and lower. This time, he wanted to hit his sternum. As long as his ribs were broken, Fong Yin would become a rabbit waiting to be slaughtered. Bam! Fong Yin's hands pressed on Bailey Lu's knees. Bailey Lu exerted force, and so did Fong Yin. Bailey Lu exerted more force, and Fong Yin used the heart of Tai Chi to borrow force. No matter how hard Bailey Lu tried, he could not hit Fong Yin's ribs with his knee. Do you think you can stop me like this? Bailey Lu laughed wildly. Fong Yin, from today on, I will prove to you that attack is the best defense. The winner of this battle is me. Bailey Godly Fist defeated Fong family's Tai Chi. Are you? Fong Yin's breathing was a little heavy. That was because his lungs were injured. Are you thinking too much? As Fong Yin spoke, he hooked one hand, and Bailey Lu's feet were lifted off the ground at the same time. Fong Yin suddenly straightened his back, and Bailey Lu's body, which was on his shoulder, was abruptly lifted up. He crossed his feet, pressed his body on the ground, and drew Tai Chi with his toes. At the same time, his body also rotated. He held his hands in a circle and used Bailey Lu's body as an arc of Tai Chi. The heart of Tai Chi rotated crazily, and only a white gas vortex could be seen, but its real body could not be seen clearly. There was a warm and abundant gas in the Chi pit, like a Chi meridian extending to the limbs and the major meridians of the whole body. When it went around in the body and entered the sea of Chi again, Fong Yin felt that he suddenly became energetic and powerful. He felt that his whole body was full of power, and he had an impulse to destroy, and to crush all the enemies. Bailey Lu wanted to struggle, but Fong Yin took the initiative to press him down. He made a move, and Fong Yin pressed him down. He made a kick, and Fong Yin pressed his foot down. Fong Yin's body rotated faster and faster, and his hands danced faster and faster. Bailey Lu's vertical body turned into an oval, and the oval became a circle. There's no heaven and no me, and I am Tai Chi. It had to be said that the feeling of being able to look inside and foresee the enemy was really awesome and pretentious. Bailey Lu's body turned into a ball and became the Tai Chi that Fong Yin was playing with and dancing. Fong Yin raised his hands, and Bailey Lu, the meatball, was thrown into the air. Then, he leaped into the air. His whole body stretched out like a big eagle spreading its wings and soaring. When the height of his jump was the same as the height of the meatball, he kicked the meatball away. Bang! The meatball hit the mountain wall, and the sound of bones breaking was heard. Whoosh! Fong Yan's feet landed on the ground. The second round, the Fong family of Tai Chi wins. Fong Yin stood proudly and said in a clear voice. Chapter 130. Fong Yin and Bailey Liu had fought 2 rounds. Of course, in the hearts of some uninformed spectators, they had fought 3 times. In the first round, Fong Yin made an appointment with Bailey Liu to fight 3 days later with the excuse of feeling unwell. Unexpectedly, as soon as Bailey Liu left the Fong family, someone spread the rumor that Fong Yin defeated Bailey Liu in 1 move. Bailey Liu could not explain it, so he could only suppress his anger in his heart. In the second round, Bailey Liu challenged Fong Yin again. The two also made a heavy bet that the defeated party could not take care of his hair or wash his clothes before he challenged his opponent again. Therefore, Bailey Liu became like a savage in the deep mountains today. The third round was today. Bailey Liu came prepared. At a young age, he had practiced the inverse God punch to his arms. He could be called the best of a younger generation of Wulin, and his strength could not be underestimated. Unexpectedly, Fong Yin still turned the tables at the last moment. While he was beaten into a ball, he had to continue to abide by the agreement that his hair could not be taken care of and his clothes could not be washed. He walked in Jianghu in ragged clothes with his bad hairstyle, was beaten by his father with a stick, and was ridiculed by his peers. The history of Bailey Liu's growth was a tragic history of hardship. Fong Yin stood in the same place, waiting for Bailey Liu's body to hit the stone wall and then fall to the ground again. He was ready to go up and give him a few more kicks. Bailey Liu's ball-like body was sliding down rapidly. As he slid down, his body gradually stretched out. Obviously, he had broken away from Fong Yan's control and recovered some physical strength and self-awareness. Then he suddenly punched out, and his blazing red arm was ruthlessly inserted into the stone wall. He was like a gecko hanging on a mountainside, with a stubborn look that he would not go down even if he died. Fong Yin waved to Bailey Liu and shouted, "Bailey Liu, come down. I don't want to go down." As soon as Bailey Liu opened his mouth, he vomited a mouthful of blood. That kid was too ruthless. He was beating him to death. He knew that his body was seriously injured, and his internal organs were also hit hard. He might need a long time to recuperate. "Come down. I have something to discuss with you," shouted Fong Yin. "You lied to me," Bailey Liu roared. His fists were firmly inserted into the cracks of the rocks, unwilling to fall to the ground. "Why would I lie to you? When have I ever lied to you? Apart from the previous misunderstanding, I have never lied to you even once. I swear on my character. Come down and tell me who asked you to kill me. I promise I won't hit you again." "I can't go down. I can't say," Bailey Liu said. "If you don't come down, I'll go up. I can beat you up. Do you think I can't climb up myself?" Fong Yin was angry and threatened. "Ka! Ka! Ka!" His hands were like 2 indestructible awls, dancing left and right, up and down. In the blink of an eye, he had climbed from the waist of the mountain to the peak. "Fong Yin, you bastard! You son of a B*****. Bailey Liu stood on the peak and cursed. His long hair was spread out, and it was even more abstract than the hairstyle of Zhang Wuji's godfather, the Golden Fur Lion King in the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. His mouth was bleeding, and his eyeballs were protruding. His clothes were torn into strips, and there were countless wounds on his body that were oozing blood. "How can you scold people?" shouted Fong Yin, standing at the foot of the mountain. A master should have the demeanor of a master. How could he casually scold people? This would lower his dignity and destroy the aura of a master. "I want to scold people. I want to scold you," Bailey Liu roared in exasperation. "You beat me again. Why do you want to beat me again? Why can't you let me win once? Will you die if you let me win once? Do you know that I'm dying? Do you know what kind of life I've been living since I lost to you last time? I haven't had a haircut for 2 years and 5 months. My clothes were rotten, so I took them off and washed them secretly. I can only sleep naked at night, because I'm afraid that if I wear them out, I won't have clothes to wear the next day. My father saw my clothes and stabbed me with a spear, saying that I've lost the face of the ancestors of the Bailey family. What's even more infuriating is that my mother forced me to go on a blind date a few days ago. Beauty Lou's little cousin, that crazy woman, took a look at me and said that she wouldn't make friend with a down-and-out painter. Bailey Lou's eyes were moist, and big drops of tears rolled down his cheeks. Who's a down-and-out painter? Who's a down-and-out painter? I haven't even held a brush before. I can't even draw an egg. How can I be a painter? Fang Yin, it's all your fault. I must kill you. To be honest, after listening to Bailey Lou's sorrowful attack and accusation, Fang Yin really sympathized with this unlucky child. At that time, both of them were young. In order to make each other's life more miserable, they made such a bet. Unexpectedly, from then on, the life of the gentle, handsome, and charming young master of the Bailey family had become like this. The quality of his life had deteriorated too fast. No wonder this kid couldn't bear it and came all the way here to kill and take revenge. Fang Yin waved to Bailey Lou and shouted, "Bailey Lou, come down. I'm not going down. Unless you promise me something." "What is it?" "Cancel the previous agreement. I can have a haircut and change my clothes." Bailey Lou shouted. "What did you say?" "Cancel the previous agreement. I can have a haircut and change my clothes." "In your dreams," Fang Yin said angrily. He looked up and said, "It's up to you. If you have the ability, stand on the top for 3 days and 3 nights. I'll consider agreeing to your condition." "Fang Yin, I hate you." Bailey Lou looked at Fang Yin in despair and ran to the other end of the top of the mountain. Soon, his figure disappeared in front of Fang Yin. "It's all the fault of the blind date." Fang Yin sighed in his heart. A good young man became mentally ill because of the blow he received during the blind date. It was really frightening to think about it. A blind date is fiercer than a tiger. When Fang Yin returned to the hotel, he found that there were no students from Class 9 in the restaurant. Even the 2 little girls, Jiangqin and Yuan Lin, who said they would wait for him to come back for breakfast, had disappeared. Fang Yin called the waiter over and asked, "Hello, may I ask if those students have eaten?" "Yes," the waiter said. "So fast?" Fang Yin asked in surprise. He and Bailey Lou didn't fight for too long. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be so fast. When those students were eating breakfast, someone ran over and said that they saw Xiatian filming at Xixia Mountain. The waiter's expression became excited and said with envy, "They all ran to see Xiatian. It's Xiatian again." Fang Yin said gloomily. He had planned to bring the students back to school after they had their fill. These students all ran to find the crew to see the stars. Where could he find them all? "What did you say?" The waiter who was serving Fang Yin soy milk and fried dough stick stared at Fang Yin fiercely. Her hand stopped and said, "You said it's Xiatian again? You don't like Xiatian?" "I don't dislike her." "I mean, you do. I can tell from your tone." The waiter was obviously a hardcore fan of Xiatian. "Why don't you like Xiatian? What's wrong with Xiatian? Do you know how hard Xiatian works?" The waiter threw the soy milk cup in front of Fang Yin, but forgot to leave him a sugar bun. When she left with the tray, she said discontentedly, "You don't understand Xiatian. You don't know what kind of woman is a real goddess. You don't understand her. If you understand her, you will fall in love with her." Fang Yin finished the 2 fried dough sticks and a cup of warm, unsweetened soy milk on the plate. He wiped his mouth and was ready to look for his students. He found the greeter at the door and asked the direction in which the students left and rushed in that direction. There was no need to deliberately look for them because there were many people on the road with him. From their excited expressions and topics of discussion, it was obvious that they were also looking for Xiatian. Fang Yin was not ignorant about Xiatian. He had also heard of Xiatian's name. He knew that Xiatian had acted and sung, but that was all. He didn't expect that this star had such a great influence. Because she was filming at Mount Zhangxia, the tourists of Mount Zhangxia were probably looking for the location of her filming crew. Thinking that the students of Class 9 had abandoned their teacher and ran to find a woman they had never seen before, Fang Yin felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. Is it really Xiatian? Is it fake news? It must be Xiatian. Someone has already taken a photo and posted it on Weibo. It was taken at Mount Zhangxia. Great. I finally have a chance to see Xia Tian. Xia Tian is too low-key. She hasn't held a concert for several years. It's not easy to see her low-key. Fang Yin sneered. If she really wanted to be low-key, she wouldn't have deliberately revealed her whereabouts, letting so many people look for her all over the mountains and plains. How could she be called low-key? At this moment, Fang Yin heard the sound of branches rustling in the woods on a narrow side road. Fang Yin stopped and looked over. He happened to meet a pair of bright and gentle eyes. The woman obviously didn't expect that she would be discovered as soon as she showed her head. She looked anxious and hurriedly made a shushing gesture to Fang Yin. Worried that Fang Yin wouldn't agree, she put her palms together and made a pleading gesture to Fang Yin. Fang Yin was stunned for a moment and shouted in surprise, "You are Xia Tian?" Chapter 131. For many people, the word summer is the password to unlock the computer and the keyword set by the brain automatically. Hearing Fang Yin shout, "You are summer," everyone looked at him. Summer? Where is it? Where is summer? Why don't I see it? Summer, come out. We have already seen you. Everyone searched for a while and did not find the figure of their idol goddess Summer. So they looked at Fang Yin with hostility. Hey, didn't you say you saw Summer? Where is Summer? A young girl wearing glasses looked at Fang Yin and asked angrily. Yes, you liar. Another girl with a cap next to the girl was also angry. How can you lie at such a young age? A middle-aged uncle followed them and accused Fang Yin. Fang Yin remembered very clearly that it was this middle-aged uncle who shouted, "Summer, come out. We have already seen you," and other lies to the woods. Can't lie at such a young age? Can you only lie when you're old? When Fang Yin figured out that the woman who gestured to him to be silent and begged him to help keep it a secret was the big star Summer that they were looking for, he didn't mean to keep it a secret for her. How can a star refuse to see her fans? Signing a photo and treating them to dinner is a matter of course. However, hearing these fans accusing and attacking him, Fang Yin changed his mind. Don't you want to see your idol? I won't tell you where your idol is. I have seen Summer. Fang Yin said innocently. Where? Why don't we see it? The girl with glasses searched around again. The blooming flowers are summer. The green grass is summer. The leafy saplings are summer. The thorns are also summer. Fang Yin pointed to the surrounding scenery and said, the birds in the sky are summer. The fish in the river are summer. And the earthworms in the soil are summer. Where is summer? Summer is in our eyes and in our hearts. Fang Yin looked at the middle-aged uncle and said, Uncle, didn't you say you saw summer? Why are you still asking me where summer is? Who are you calling uncle? Who are you calling uncle? You look even older than me, and you still have the nerve to call me uncle. The uncle was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. Crazy, the bespectacled girl cursed. This person is really annoying. I thought he saw the summer, but it turns out he's a poet. Since they didn't get the information they wanted from Fang Yin, they followed their original plan and continued forward to search for summer. Fang Yin waited for them to leave before he walked to the front of the dense forest at the fork and said, Come out. The branches and leaves swayed, and a beautiful figure in an ancient costume stood in front of Fang Yin, elegant and refined, otherworldly like an immortal. This was Fang Yin's first impression of her. Just now, it was just a hurried exchange of glances. At that time, all Fang Yin could see was the purity and worry in her eyes. Now that she was standing in front of Fang Yin was able to redefine her perception and understanding. She is indeed a beautiful woman. Fang Yin thought, how could this be? The girl said in a sweet voice. Even when she was angry, she was still so gentle and pleasant. What should I do? Fang Yin asked. I already told you not to make a sound and not to tell them where I am. Why did you expose my whereabouts? Xiaji said angrily. Fang Yin laughed, pointed at the crowd and said, If I had deliberately exposed your whereabouts, you would have been surrounded by them by now, right? But you... Xiaji thought about it, but really couldn't blame Fang Yin for doing something wrong. Although he had asked that very inappropriate question, but he did not really betray himself. then you can't compare me to some fish in the water or earthworm in the soil. I'm describing summer. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. It has nothing to do with you. Fang Yin said. Xiaji scanned his surroundings and frowned. Carrying his cumbersome ancient robe, he hesitated on where to go next. The news that the crew of the Divine Furnace was filming at the Xixiao Mountain was accidentally discovered by someone, and someone even took a photo of her and posted on the internet. Now all the tourists in the Xixiao Mountain were looking for her. It was said that a large number of fans were rushing towards the Xixiao Mountain. The crew of the Divine Furnace was already surrounded, and she was brought out by Feng Yuancheng from a small path. In order to distract the group of people who were following him, Feng Yuancheng deliberately led them to another fork in the road. Now, she was the only one left walking in the mountains. She was at a loss for what to do. The crew couldn't go back. She didn't know the way up the mountain, and she could be surrounded by the huge number of fans at any time. The most tragic thing was that her phone was still in the hands of her assistant. How could she deal with such a complicated situation by herself? Her helpless and pitiful appearance touched a certain chord in Fang Yan's heart. He suddenly felt that if he didn't help this woman at this time, he would despise himself along with many others. And she was such a beautiful woman. You're Xiaji, right? Fang Yan asked. Xiaji had already regained her composure as a big star. She said, Yes, I'm Xiaji. Where are you going? Fang Yin asked. Where to? Xiaji thought for a moment and said, I haven't thought about it yet. Maybe I should go to the police for help. I mean, if I really have to. Fang Yin sighed. A while ago, a Korean star came to Huaxia to participate in an event. In the end, he was chased by a large group of fans and didn't even have the chance to pee. He could only ask the police station on the highway for help. Now, another star was chased by fans and wanted to go to the police. It's really not easy to be a star. Fang Yin somewhat sympathized with Tang Tianwang back then. He was so popular that there was no one before him. Wasn't his life too exciting? Is there anything I can help you with? Fang Yin asked. Xiaji looked at Fang Yin and said, I think you look very familiar. Fang Yin took out a business card from his pocket and said, A man named Zhang Wei came to me and said he was your agent, so it's you. Xiaji was shocked and overjoyed. It was too far away at that time, so I couldn't see it clearly. I just feel that when you do Tai Chi, there's an indescribable charm there. That's why I wanted to cooperate with you. I'm sorry, I was too presumptuous. It's nothing. Fang Yin stuffed the business card into his pants pocket again. Although I refuse to cooperate with you, I can't be angry with you if you insist on praising me like this. I'll take you to a place. Fang Yin said. Where are we going? Xiaji looked at Fang Yin warily. With her current status, it was really not suitable for her to be too close to a young man. Moreover, this man was quite strange. Fang Yin squinted his eyes and smiled, saying, Miss Xia, you actually don't have much of a choice. Either you come with me, or you'll be surrounded by real fans. You'll also be taken advantage of by some fake fans. Back then, when Tang Tianwang was disguised as a woman, there were men who sneaked into the fan group to touch his butt. Xiaji felt her scalp go numb and goosebumps all over her body. She resisted the urge to turn around and look at her, but she looked into Fang Yan's eyes and said, Why should I believe you? I'm a teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. This time, I came to Xixiao Mountain to bring my students to travel. If you don't believe me, this is my teacher's ID. As Fang Yin spoke, he took out his work ID and the list of students in Class 9 from his pocket and showed them to Xia Xia. Xiaji carefully studied it and confirmed that it wasn't fake. He returned the ID to Fang Yin and said apologetically, I'm really sorry. I have to be more careful. Then I'll have to trouble you. It's a bit troublesome. Fang Yin looked at the white robe and the high bun on his head and said, If you don't want to be recognized immediately, I suggest you change your clothes. Change clothes? Xiaji frowned. She was interrupted by the surging fans in the middle of filming, so she ran out in her costume. If she had a change of clothes, she would have changed long ago. Why would she wait until now? Wait a moment, Fang Yin said. He looked around, but didn't see any clothing stores nearby. Thus, his gaze shifted to Xiaji and said, Actually, it's not that there's no way, it's just... You need to make some sacrifices. Xiaoji had indeed made a great sacrifice. If the outside world saw the noble goddess of the entertainment circle with a white veil covering her face like an Arab woman and only revealing a pair of eyes, they would probably be shocked. Fang Yin couldn't help Xia Ji by a change of clothes, so he took off the large piece of white veil on her head and wrapped it around her head. She changed the robe she was wearing into a large robe worn by Arab women. It was simple and convenient, and it wasn't easy to attract attention. Fang Yin was going to take Xia Ji back to the hotel they rented to temporarily avoid the limelight, and then call her assistant to come over and quietly pick her up. Just as they walked to the lobby of the hotel, they happened to meet Tang Sheng, who was accompanying Qin Etian out for a walk. Tang Sheng stared at Fang Yin with wide eyes, a look of disbelief. Teacher Fang Yin, did he pick up another girl? Moreover, it was a woman full of exotic charm. Chapter 132. When Tang Sheng saw Fang Yin come back with an Arabian girl, his first reaction was to turn around and look at Qin Etian's face. To his disappointment, Qin Etian's face showed no emotion. It was as if he didn't see it at all. Tang Sheng was a little disappointed, but on second thought, he quickly returned to normal. Pretend. Keep pretending. Let's see how you can pretend. Tang Sheng knew Qin Etian to a certain extent, and he knew that this girl was not the same as other girls. Ordinary girls liked and didn't like, and their emotions could be seen at a glance. Qin Etian's aura was strong, and she spoke and did things frankly and directly. However, that was her real body, or it could be her disguise. She was like a mystery. She was deeper and more introverted. It was difficult to see her mind clearly, and it was even more difficult to pry into the secrets in her heart. If Qin Etian really liked Fang Yin, how could she not be angry when she saw such a scene? The reason why she didn't show it was because she hid it in her heart, or she didn't like Fang Yin at all. The picture of Fang Yin dancing Tai Chi on the top of Zhangxia Mountain kept appearing in Tang Sheng's mind, as if his heart was covered with a layer of haze. How could you defeat such a man, such a rival in love? Now, the wind blew away the haze, and the sun shone. Tang Sheng suddenly became happy. Fang Yin nodded to Tang Sheng, and then walked toward the hotel elevator with Xia Xia in his arms. Tang Sheng looked at the backs of Fang Yin and the Arabian girl as they left, then turned to Qin Etian and said, "Haha, Mr. Fang is really popular with women." Qin Etian took a deep look at Tang Sheng and said, "Childish." Tang Sheng felt as if he had been stabbed in the chest. "How am I childish? Did I do something wrong again? I was so quick-witted and discreetly gave Teacher Fang Yin some eyesight. Could it be that you also found out?" When Qin Etian and Tang Sheng boarded the elevator, Fang Yin and the Arabian girl had already disappeared. Qin Etian did not return to his room, but said to Tang Sheng, "Mr. Fang has a guest. Let's go and greet him." Tang Sheng grinned and said, "Yes, we should go and say hello." He thought to himself, "I was right. You still care about me. You're still angry." Thinking that Qin Etian actually cared that Fang Yin was angry because he took another woman back to his room, the smile on Tang Sheng's face instantly froze. He wanted to cry. Bang! As the door to the room was closed, Xia Xia's heart also followed the sound of the door slamming heavily. A hotel on a high mountain, a man and a woman meeting for the first time, a tightly closed oak door. To be honest, such an environment was too dangerous. Such an atmosphere was too ambiguous. Xia Xia was at a loss. She had been in the entertainment industry for many years. Because of her purity and good family environment, her life had always been simple and monotonous. She liked to sing, so she simply sang. She tried to act, but it was just a simple act. Her daily life and work matters were taken care of by her assistant and agent, and the company would come forward to solve the bigger matters. She rarely went to negotiate or communicate with others in person. Some people said that she was the goddess of the entertainment industry, and God rarely appeared in the public eye. Fang Yin saw Xia Xia's awkwardness and comforted her. "Don't worry. I'm not as bad as you think." After listening to Fang Yin's comfort, Xia Xia was even more worried. However, she still pretended to be calm and said, I believe you, a martial artist who can play that kind of big pattern and momentum must not be a bad person. You can't say that. Fang Yin sighed. There are a lot of bastards in our circle, and their martial arts are quite good. He has both talent and looks. I've just beat one away. Don't judge a book by its cover. The results could be very hurtful. Xiaoji stared at Fang Yin even more vigilantly. She didn't know if she should choose to believe this seemingly honest guy or not judge a book by its cover and categorize him as a bastard. You still don't believe me? Fang Yin looked at Xia Chen's nervous expression and said, I have already shown my sincerity enough. If you really don't believe me, then I'll leave first. No need. Xiaoji hurriedly stopped her. Although she felt that this was a good idea, she really couldn't do such a rude thing. She was already very apologetic that the dove had occupied the bird's nest, but now she had chased the master out while staying in the room. Was this really okay? It had to be said that the summer goddess was quite gentle and kind. I'm just saying, Fang Yin said with a smile. If you agree, it proves that you don't believe me. If you don't believe me, I'm sure I won't help you anymore. We can't be good friends. Then I'll have to ask you to leave. You can take off the veil on your head. Fang Yin said. To be honest, Xia Chun really didn't want to take off the veil. Because of the cover of this white veil, she felt safer. Moreover, when she was angry or shy, she didn't have to worry about being seen. However, now that he had entered the room, wouldn't it be too disrespectful if he didn't take off the veil? Xiaoji turned around slightly and took off the white cloth on her head. Her elegant and refined face was revealed. Her cheeks were red, but her eyes didn't meet Fang Yin's gaze. She said, Teacher Fang Yin, why did you reject Zhang Wei's invitation? I sincerely want to cooperate with you. I've already explained it very clearly. If it's not a big production, I won't accept it. Fang Yin said, What's Tang Tian Wang's first play? Black Man. I've read his biography. Xia said, Yeah, his first movie had a box office of over $1 billion. My first time on screen was just to be a male lead in MTV. Thinking about it made my heart feel very unbalanced. Am I worse than him? Obviously not. All right, I'm a male lead, right? No. Then what should I do? My new album will try to do some classical Hua, Xia-style songs. I want to film a scene of you doing Tai Chi. I only have one scene. It's a distant view. Do you see the face? I might not be able to. If you want to see, it's fine. We can discuss it. There was really no way to continue this topic. Fang Yin felt that he had been insulted. Fang Yin invited Xiaochen to sit down and lent her his phone so that she could call her assistant or manager and have them pick her up. Thank you. After making the call, he returned the phone to Fang Yin and said gratefully, You're welcome. Fang Yin said, I didn't intend to help you at first, but then your fans attacked me, so I deliberately didn't let them see you. Besides, you're also a star, and I feel very proud to help you. Xia Chan felt that he was about to collapse. Big brother, do you have to be so straightforward? You're hurting others like this? Okay. Dong, dong, dong. There was a knock on the door. Xia Chen was shocked and looked at Fang Yin and said, Did they chase us here? No. Fang Yin walked over to open the door and said, I'll introduce 2 students to you. The door opened, and sure enough, Qin Yiqian and Tang Sheng stood at the door. Qin Yiqian looked at Xia Chun, and Xia Chun was also looking at the gentle but aggressive Qin Yiqian. This girl is so beautiful, Xia Chun thought in his heart. He also felt that beautiful was really difficult to describe Qin Yiqian's temperament. If he used arrogant, it would be a derogatory word. However, she was really proud of herself. Qin Yiqian ignored the existence of Fang Yin and went straight to Xia Chun. He took the initiative to reach out to Xia Chun and said, I like your role as Little Qing in Green Snake. It's gentle, seductive, full of spirituality, and offensive. Thank you for giving this role a soul. I'm Qin Yiqian, a student of Fang Yin. Nice to meet you, Xia Chun. I'm also very happy to meet you. Xia Chun felt that everyone he saw today was so strange. The teacher's poisonous tongue was direct, and the students were arrogant and direct. There was no need for pleasantries or polite words. Everyone came naked, without any fear or respect, because of his identity as a big star. Qin Yiqian, you're really special. There are 4 seasons in a year, and each season has 91 days. Summer is not the most special. However, in the 1.3 billion Huasia's mouth, there is only one singing and acting summer, and you are also the most special. Qin Tian said with a smile. You know each other? Tang Cheng looked at Qin Tian, then looked at Xia Chun, and asked with a surprised face. These two women looked very familiar. What made it even more difficult for him to understand was that Qin Tian had been with him at that time, and Xia Chun was wrapped in white cloth and went upstairs with Fang Yan. Why was she so sure of that? That woman was the big star Xia Chun? Qin Tian turned to look at Tang Sheng and said, First, Fang Yan doesn't know Arabic, so it's impossible for him to bring an Arab woman back to get a room. Second, Xia Chun disappeared, and now all the tourists in the scenic area are looking for her. Third, I don't think it's strange for a woman to cover her head and face and wear a robe. A woman who dresses like this and wears this kind of boots must have just come back from ancient times, or is preparing to go back to ancient times. I think she should be the latter. In this case, there is only one person in the whole Xixiao mountain who would do this kind of thing, Xia Chun. Tang Cheng was stunned. Fang Yan and Xia Chun also couldn't calm down for a long time. They thought it was foolproof, but it turned out that there were many loopholes in this girl's eyes. Whether you can conquer a woman or not, it doesn't just depend on whether you are good enough. Qin Tian looked at Tang Sheng and said, You also have to be good at discovering and thinking, right? Tang Sheng said with a face of self-blame. He felt that he was too careless. Why couldn't he think of what Qin Tian thought of? It also depends on your face. Qin Tian said. Chapter 133. Liar. Tang Cheng said. He was better looking than Fang Yan, and he was the Prince Charming in the eyes of all the girls in Rosefinch High School. Why didn't Qin Tian like him just because of his face? I said shameless. Qin Tian said. Tang Cheng looked helpless. This sort of request was really too much to ask of him. Fang Yan laughed and said, Tang Cheng, it seems that you need to work harder. Shameless. Ha 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 ha. This is what Mr. Fang is good at. Tang Cheng looked at Fang Yan, who was laughing, and said, I will learn from Mr. Fang. Poochie. This time, the person who couldn't help laughing was Xia Xia. It was so fun. These teachers and students were so fun. She had never seen a student who got along so well with the teacher, and she had never seen a middle school teacher who was so tolerant to the students. Moreover, a male student was pursuing another female student in front of the teacher. Such a thing made her very surprised. When she was in high school, her classmates didn't have the guts to talk about such a topic in front of the teacher. Even puppy love was strictly forbidden by the school. If the teacher knew that a boy and a girl in the class were close, they would try to separate them and even call their parents to complain. The current era was really very different from the past. Xia Xia goddess laughed so hard that she couldn't stand up straight with her hands on her stomach. Her eyes were red, and tears were about to flow out. Finding that everyone was looking at her with a strange expression, Xia Xia tried to stop laughing and said with a red face, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just think that you guys are very interesting. So I couldn't help laughing. I didn't mean to. Teacher Fang, Yin is interesting. We are far from it. Tang Cheng said with a sour heart. This request of Qin Tian really put him in a difficult position. If she asked for other things, any of them, he could change for her and try his best to fulfill them. However, if he were to be shameless, it would really make one anxious. You think you can be shameless just because you don't want to? Shameless, and still making people think that she was cute. This required talent, okay? Ovo Fang Yin was very angry. Student Tang Sheng, have you ever touched your own conscience when you slander me like this? Who was the one who risked his life to save you when you were ambushed by Chiba Halmo? Even if you're an ungrateful person, there should be a time limit, right? How long has it been since I saved you? Look, Tang Cheng pointed at Fang Yan and said to Xia Xia, Mr. Fang is really interesting. It's true that you saved me, but is that considered risking your life? You suddenly erupted into a super scion and beat the little monster to the point that it couldn't fight back, but I didn't see you facing any life-threatening danger. Besides, he was worried that the Wu Ren investigation team would take revenge on him, and he was also worried that he would be punished by the school leaders. So, he ran to the ward and threatened to pretend to be in a vegetative state. Was that really a good thing to do? Xia Chun suddenly envied this kind of teacher-student relationship. He looked at Fang Yin and said, "Your student must like you a lot, right? There's no reason for them not to like me." Fang Yin said, "It's not that I'm bragging to you, but it's not easy to find a teacher like me. They all understand this." "I'm really confused. You're so good at Tai Chi. Why did you become a teacher?" "Tai Chi teacher?" Xia asked. With Fang Yan's students by her side, Xiachen wasn't as nervous and restrained as before. Moreover, she felt that Fang Yan was a very interesting person and wanted to know more about him. Only by knowing what kind of person he was would it be convenient for them to cooperate in the future. "I'm a language teacher," Fang Yan said with a smile. "I know more than just Tai Chi. Mr. Fang also knows how to fence," Tang Cheng said. Fang Yan was furious and said, "Tang Cheng, why are you cursing again?" "Mr. Fang, I'm talking about the sword of the treasured sword, not the cheap of the slut." "Of course I know that's what you're talking about," Fang Yan said. "I'm just joking with you." With a smile on his face, Xia looked at Fang Yan and asked, "Mr. Fang, do we really not have a chance to cooperate? I want to make a Hua Xia-style song, and I want to fuse more Hua Xia elements into it. I feel that Tai Chi is indispensable. As for you, I was very moved when I saw the great momentum of Tai Chi at the peak of the Xingxia mountain. I think we could try to cooperate." "I'll think about it," Fang Yin said. Seeing that Fang Yin was still unwilling to agree to her invitation, Xia no longer forced herself to change the topic. She chatted with Fang Yin Tangsheng about the interesting things that happened in school when she was studying. Qin Tian sat on a chair, sipping tea as she listened. She rarely spoke. Compared to the summer, she was more like a big star. Dong, 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 there was a knock on the door. Fang Yin saw two men and a woman standing at the door with worried faces from the peephole. He turned around and said, "Zhang Wei is here." As he spoke, he also opened the door. Feng Yuansheng was the first to rush in. Seeing Xia, who was sitting on the chair, safe and sound, he asked anxiously, "Xia, are you all right?" Feng Yuansheng's face was covered in sweat, and his clothes were tattered by the thorns on the tree branches. From the looks of it, he did run a lot, and he was very worried and concerned about Xia. "I'm fine," Xia said with a smile. "It's all thanks to teacher Fang Yan's help. Otherwise, I would be in a terrible situation right now. Those people were chasing too closely. It wasn't easy to get rid of them. When I ran back to look for you, I couldn't find you anymore. It's good that you're fine." Feng Yuanqing looked at Fang Yin warily and said, "Let's go. We can't stay here for long. We have to hurry down the mountain. If those fanatical fans find out about this place, we won't be able to leave even if we want to." Xia stood up and thanked Fang Yin once again, saying, "Mr. Fang, thank you very much. If it's convenient, can you leave a business card for us to contact?" "I don't have a business card." Fang Yin smiled and shook his head. "Then, it's fine to write down a phone number." Xiaji insisted. Feng Yuanchang saw that Xia was too enthusiastic about the young man in front of him and said with great dissatisfaction, "Xia, let's go first. Let Assistant Zhang contact him." Xia's expression changed slightly, but he forced himself not to say anything. Feng Yin was very unhappy. He looked at Feng Yuanchang and said, "Do you like Miss Xia a lot?" "What did you say?" Feng Yuanchang said with an unfriendly expression. "If you like it, then you like it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. You don't even have the courage to admit your feelings? What does my business have to do with you?" Feng Yuancheng said with a sneer. "Why should I tell you?" Feng Yuancheng was not stupid. If he confessed his feelings for Xia on the spot, if the media found out about this, it would definitely cause a raging storm. It would be fine if Xia accepted his pursuit, but if he didn't, it would be a huge loss of face. Of course it does. If you want to pursue Miss Xia, you have to at least be more open-minded and calm. Based on my many years of experience with women, Miss Xia is a gentle and kind woman. This kind of woman hates petty men the most. If you don't want to lose the chance to compete for Miss Xia, then quickly apologize to me and ask me to forgive you. If you do, don't worry, I won't deliberately make things difficult for you. Why should I apologize to you? Why should I ask for your forgiveness? Feng Yuancheng was really angered by Fang Yan. What did I do to you? I didn't do anything. Miss Xia and I are friends. We are friends, so why are you getting involved in the middle? Fang Yan then revealed the real reason for his dissatisfaction. Friend? Feng Yuancheng's face was full of ridicule. Do you think anyone can become friends with Xia Xia after saying a few words? I know you helped Xia Xia, and I will get someone to repay you, but don't carelessly make friends. It's not appropriate for others to laugh at you and make yourself a laughing stock. What do you mean by that? Who do you think you are? Tang Sheng was angry and said rudely in front of Fang Yan. His feelings for Fang Yan were very complicated. He was grateful to Fang Yan from the bottom of his heart for saving his life, admired his erudition, and worshipped his deep martial arts foundation. However, Qin Etienne's initiative to attack Fang Yan gave him a headache. After all, Qin Etienne was the one and only girl in his life. He really didn't know how he could persist if there was no Qin Etienne in his life. Maybe he would usually tease or ridicule Fang Yan, but when outsiders came to attack Fang Yan, he couldn't bear to be the first to jump out to help Fang Yan. Why can't Mr. Fang be friends with Xia Xia? Can it be that Xia Xia's friend can only be a pretty boy like you? Who are you calling a pretty boy? Do you believe that I will let someone sue you for slander? Feng Yuancheng was really angry. He was indeed young, and his skin was very white, but he saw himself as an idol and a powerful actor. Wasn't it insulting to be called a pretty boy? If you don't learn well at such a young age, you won't have any future prospects when you grow up. This time, Fang Yan was not going to let it go. You can't scold him, but you can scold his students for growing up to be useless. Isn't that a blatant slap in his face? This was even more unacceptable. Fang Yan looked at Xia Ji and asked, "Are we friends?" Xia Xia glanced at Feng Yuancheng and said in a soft but firm voice, "Yes, you are my friend." Chapter 134. You're also my friend, Fang Yan said solemnly. The reason he asked Xia Chun if he was his friend was to know what to do next. If Xia Xia despised her identity as a teacher, or if she felt that Feng Yuancheng was more important to her, in order to take care of Feng Yuancheng's face, she would give a negative answer. Then, from now on, the two of them would no longer have any interactions. Moreover, he would no longer take into account Xia Chen's wishes and attitude when dealing with this matter. So what if you're a big star? It's not like you'll give me a million or a sincere smile. Now that Xia Chen said that he was her friend, Fang Yan had to consider her feelings and feelings. The fact that she was able to say such words in such an environment proved that she really valued him and his help to her. This was a good woman of good character. Feng Yuancheng looked at Xia Ji with a face full of shock, a little incredulous that she would make such a choice. He and Xia Chun had known each other for many years and had a close relationship. Moreover, they were the male and female leads of the same show. Whether it was public or private, he should be on his side, right? Who was that guy? He was just a nameless little minion that he had met for the first time. How could she hurt herself for him? Did she know how sad, and how shameful she would be if she did this? If he took too big a step, he would pull on his eggs. Feng Yuancheng suddenly felt that this world was too dark. Xiaoyu. Feng Yuancheng looked at Xia Chan in disbelief and asked in confusion. Feng Yuancheng, Fang Yan is my friend. Xia Chan said again, just like you're my friend, but we've known each other for many years. Feng Yuancheng was heartbroken. Old friends are friends, and new friends are also friends. Xia said. She had a soft personality and didn't like to argue with others. Therefore, many things were based on the principle of I would rather have less trouble than trouble. However, this did not mean that she was an idiot who did not understand human emotions. If she was really such a woman, she would not have been able to achieve what she had today. She and Feng Yuancheng had known each other for many years, because Feng Yuancheng had deliberately gotten close to her, and Feng Yuancheng himself was not some evil man. The two of them could be considered to have a close personal relationship. This time, the company asked her and Feng Yuancheng to play the male and female leads of the same play, and she did not reject it. Feng Yuancheng was quite popular and had good acting skills. He was definitely qualified to be the male lead. However, Feng Yuancheng had a trait that made people uncomfortable, and that was that he loved to make choices for others. He will order his favorite dishes for you to eat. If he likes it, he'll pour it for you. He will help you choose your clothes. He will interfere with your freedom of life. For example, just now, when Xia was asking for Feng Yan's phone number, Feng Yuancheng put his arm around her shoulder and wanted to take her away. Xia Chen was really grateful to Feng Yan. If it wasn't for Feng Yan's selfless help, she might have encountered a lot of trouble today. If there were people with malicious intentions inside, she might encounter many unimaginable things. Through the short period of contact, although Feng Yan's mouth was a little poisonous and his words and actions were a little too direct, he was still a good person. Moreover, he was really good at Tai Chi. She really wanted to invite Feng Yan to join the production of her new album. She respected Feng Yuancheng and treated her as a friend. However, a friend did not mean that he could make all the decisions for her. Xia, don't misunderstand. I'm just afraid that you'll be tricked. Feng Yuancheng quickly explained. He really couldn't understand. Could a new friend compare to an old friend? Besides, why could he become a friend of Xia Chen? Just because he was lucky enough to help Xia Chen today? The people who wanted to help Xia Tian could line up from the top of the mountain to the downtown area of Huaqing. Could it be that everyone could become friends with Xia Tian? Tang Cheng was furious and said, "Who are you calling a liar? I'll say who's guilty." Feng Yuancheng also felt that it was meaningless to compete with a little brat. However, he didn't bring any staff or assistants with him, so there was no one to speak for him. If he didn't retaliate, then he would only be able to suffer in silence. Xia glanced at Feng Yuancheng and said, "This is my business. I believe I will handle it well." Feng Yuancheng smiled awkwardly and said, "I believe in you too. I'll wait for you at the door. Don't delay too long. I'm worried that they'll discover your whereabouts and chase after us. If that happens, it'll be troublesome for us to leave." Feng Yuancheng turned around and was about to leave when he heard someone shout from behind, "Wait a minute." Feng Yuancheng turned to look at Feng Yan and said with a frown, "What do you want? Did you see me playing Tai Chi in the Line Gorge?" Feng Yan asked. Feng Yuancheng carefully sized up Feng Yan and said in surprise, "Is that you?" Of course, he knew that someone was playing Tai Chi in the direction of the Line Gorge. Because the sky was still dark and the distance was too far, he could only see a blurry figure, but he couldn't see Feng Yan's appearance clearly. Now that he heard it from Feng Yan himself, he knew that the guy standing in front of him was the Tai Chi performer. Feng Yuancheng also knew that Feng Yan had rejected Zhang Wei's invitation. How did they get together again? Could it be that kid was playing hard to get? "It's me," Feng Yan said with a smile. "If I fight with you, you won't even have the chance to make a move." "Are you threatening me?" Feng Yuancheng said coldly. "It's not a threat. I just want to tell you that if I'm in a bad mood and beat you up, you can only cry for help. Can I call the police?" Feng Yuancheng said with a disdainful expression. "If you dare to touch me, do you know what kind of consequences you'll have to bear? I will beat you to the ground," Feng Yan said. Feng Yuancheng arrogantly raised his head, his face full of mockery. "I will strip you naked and take nude photos of you," Feng Yan said. Feng Yuancheng's eyes were like knives as he stared at Feng Yan fiercely. "I will strip him naked too and let the two of you hug each other and take nude photos." Feng Yan pointed to Zhang Wei and said. Zhang Wei was anxious and said, "Why me? Why can't it be you? I'm not familiar with you," Feng Yan said. "Besides, there are only 3 men in this room. One is my apprentice, and the other is myself. Neither of us is suitable. I can only trouble you to help me on camera. You don't have to worry. I have no enmity with you. I just want to ask you for a small favor." Zhang Wei felt that he had been shot, even though he was lying down. "What do you want?" Feng Yuancheng said angrily. "Apologize," Feng Yan said. "Apologize to my students. Apologize to my students and teachers." Feng Yuancheng was silent, unwilling to bow to Fong Yin in front of Xia. Gotcha! Tang Chong crushed the glass in his hand, then grabbed a handful of glass fragments and looked at Feng Yuansheng with a cold smile. I'm sorry. Feng Yuansheng clenched his fists and said while gritting his teeth. Fong Yin looked at Qin Etian and asked, Did you record it? No. Qin Etian folded his arms and replied indifferently. He looked as if it had nothing to do with him. Then say it again. Fong Yin said to Feng Yuansheng. Let me record it. Xia left. She was picked up by her assistant manager. When she left, she once again invited Fong Yin, hoping that he could join the production of her new album. Fong Yin once again tactfully refused. Feng Yuansheng also left. He left with his enmity and hatred towards Fong Yin. Fong Yin didn't care about it at all. He wasn't going to make a living behind Feng Yuansheng's, so he didn't care about his attitude. The students who couldn't find Xia's whereabouts all came back. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin also came back. Fong Yin asked Huang Haoran to organize the team again, and then brought a group of students down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, they took a tourist bus back to the city. Jiang Qin's home was in the western part of the city. When the tourist bus passed by the western part of the city, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had to get off early. Jiang Qin sat next to Fong Yin and reluctantly looked at Fong Yin and said, Mr. Fong, you promised me. You will invite me to visit your place and help me with my homework. I just said that I would invite you to visit my place. I didn't say that I would help you with your homework. Fong Yin said with a smile. You said it. You can't deny it. Jiang Qin said rudely. Yes, you said it. I heard it all. Yuan Lin chimed in from the side. Fong Yin nodded helplessly and said, Okay, if there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me. You should go back quickly. Don't play too late and let your family worry. Don't worry. Our family will be very relieved. Jiang Qin said with a smile. Because we are with you. Don't you believe in yourself? Fong Yin smiled and waved to the two little girls. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin carried the drawing board and the toolbox and waved to Fong Yin. Then they waved to the other students of the 9th class and said, Goodbye, senior sisters. It's a pleasure to see you. Goodbye, little beauty. Jiang Qin, Yuan Lin, goodbye. Come and find us often to play. After a day of getting along, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had become friends with the students of the 9th class. Everyone's relationship was very good. Seeing them leave early, the students were a bit reluctant. I will come and find you often, Jiang Qin said with a chuckle. You still have to find our Mr. Fong. Everyone laughed and waved goodbye. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin got off the bus. When the door was about to close, Jiang Qin suddenly squeezed out from the door. The bus driver was shocked and shouted, Girl, do you want to die? Jiang Qin's face was red. She put a paper tube in Fong Yan's hand and said, Uncle, this is for you. After that, she turned around and ran out of the bus. Fong Yin was left with a thin body and a flying ponytail. Chapter 135. Because it was a school-chartered bus, the tour bus drove directly to the campus of Rosefinch Secondary before stopping. The students carried their luggage and got off the bus one after another. Everyone who left would warmly greet Fong Yin and say, See you tomorrow. Through this trip to Zhangxia Mountain, the relationship between Fong Yin and the students of the 9th class had taken a step closer. His prestige in the eyes of the students was rising day by day. Zheng Guodong carried his bag and got off the bus. He glanced at Fong Yin and left with a complicated expression. Liang and Chen Tao walked to Fong Yin. Liang said, Mr. Fong, thank you. Fong Yin patted Li Yang's shoulder and said, I'm your teacher. I just did what I should do. You're students. You should also do what you should do. Chen Tao's arm was still a bit stiff, so Liang helped him carry his bag. He stood in front of Fong Yin and said guiltily, Mr. Fong, we've done a lot of things to let you down in the past. I thought a lot last night. Zheng Guodong suddenly turned around and glared fiercely at Liang and Chen Tao. He shouted, You too. How long are you going to dawdle? Chen Tao wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, he just lowered his head and sighed as he walked toward Zheng Guodong. Liang smiled apologetically at Fong Yin and hurriedly carried a few bags and ran forward. Qin Tian stood in front of Fang Yin and glanced at the backs of Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chun Tao who were walking away. He said in a flat tone, "It seems that the effect of buying people's hearts is not bad. Someone is ready to surrender?" Fang Yin looked at Qin Tian in surprise and said, "What do you know?" "I know I should know." Qin Tian waved at Fang Yin and casually walked out of the school with his hands in the pockets of his hoodie. Tang Chung waved his hand at Fang Yin and quickly caught up with Qin Tian in front of him, saying, "Qin Tian, let me take you home." "No need. I can protect you." "I don't need protection. I can talk to you." "I don't like talking." "It's your right to refuse, but it's my right to accompany and protect you." Tang Ching insisted that he would send Qin Tian home even if he had to die. "You can't stop me from exercising my rights." Qin Tian stopped. He looked at Tang Chung and said, "You have indeed become very shameless." Tang Chung blushed and said embarrassedly, I'm learning from Mr. Fang." Fang Yin doesn't blush when he says this. Qin Tian looked at Fang Yin from a distance and said, "I'll continue to learn." Tang Chung looked like he was drunk, and his face was even redder. His bashful look was really a very cute boy. "You are not him, and don't learn from him," Qin Tian advised. She turned around and walked away, saying, "If you want to accompany me, follow me." "Really?" Tang Chung was overjoyed. He followed Qin Tian happily and said, "How do you usually go home? Do we take the bus or take a taxi? The bus is too crowded and the weather is so hot. I'm afraid you won't be used to it. Let's take a taxi. It's more spacious and air-conditioned. Of course, if you like the bus, it doesn't matter. I can accompany you." Before he could finish his sentence, Tang Ching saw a majestic and unusually dazzling Gallows Royce parked in front of the school gate. Seeing Qin Tian coming, the door of the passenger seat was pushed open. An old man in a black robe with a straight back took the initiative to open the door of the back seat and made a very respectful invitation gesture to Qin Tian. Qin Tian got into the back seat, and the door was closed with a bang. The old man in the black robe smiled at Tang Chung, then turned around and got into the driver's seat. The Rolls-Royce started and drove toward the bustling Mingguang Street. Tang Chung ran a few steps after the car and stopped helplessly. No matter how good his martial arts skills were, it was impossible for him to run faster than a four-wheeled luxury car. The autumn leaves were falling, and the cool wind was bleak, blowing Tang Ching's hair and clothes. Standing alone in the middle of the road, Tang Ching's eyes were sad, and he looked like a poor child who was forgotten by the world. Agreed. Tang Chung felt that his heart was tightly clenched by something, and it was faintly painful. Agreed to let me take you home. Pa! Zheng Guodong's body lay heavily on the expensive leather sofa in the living room of the villa, and he shouted, "Give me a glass of orange juice." The servant knew the habits of the young master, so she quickly ran to take the juice from the icebox and carefully sent it to Zheng Guodong. Zheng Guodong took the juice and took a sip. Then he called the two brothers who came back with him and stood in the living room and said, "Are you two stupid? Take whatever you want to eat and drink." "What? Are you being polite to me?" Li Yang and Chun Tao looked at each other and quickly ran to the icebox to get Coke. Li Yang looked at Zheng Guodong and said, "Young master, you must be tired after walking for so long. How about Chun Tao, and I go back first, and you rest?" Chun Tao also echoed and said, "Yes, Zheng, that thing. Although it's over, Zheng still needs to take care of his body. It's better to go to your family's private hospital to have a physical examination. Don't let anything go wrong. Are you two done yet?" Zheng Guodong squinted at Li Yang and Chun Tao and said with a thoughtful expression, "I couldn't drive you two away before. Why are you in such a hurry to go back today?" Li Yang chuckled and said, "Young master, I'm afraid I'll disturb your rest." "Yes, Zheng. You're tired. We're tired too." Zheng Guodong threw the half-finished fruit cup on the tea table in front of him and said, "Tired? What's there to be tired about? Fang Yin, that pervert. There was a cable car, but he didn't let us take it. He made us walk up and down the mountain. He's sick in the head. He must have been so poor when he was young that he couldn't bear to take out a few dozen yuan. If I had known he was so poor, I would have bought him a ticket." After a pause, he continued to scold, Of all places to travel, why do we have to go to Shisha Mountain? If we didn't go to that damn place, would we have encountered such a thing? We almost lost our little life. Fong Yin is really our bane. Liang and Shan Tao lowered their heads and drank coke, pretending not to hear Zheng Guodong's insults and attacks on Fong Yin. I'm bored to death. Zheng Guodong scolded a few times and felt bored. He said to his two friends, Liang and Shan Tao, let's go. Play a few games with me. Zheng Guodong turned on the TV, took out the game controller, and threw it to Liang and Shan Tao, saying 100 yuan per game. Zheng. Liang held the controller and wanted to refuse. Cut the crap. Start. Zheng Guodong said impatiently. Liang and Shan Tao had no choice but to sit on either side of Zheng Guodong. Just like before, they clustered Zheng Guodong in the middle and began to play the game. Zheng Guodong used the game controller to control the characters in the game and was invincible. Liang and Shan Tao were completely out of it. From time to time, they could hear their screams of death. Zheng Guodong was finally angry. He smashed the game controller on the ground and scolded. Are you too sick in the head? Don't you know how to play the game? Do I need you to go easy on me? Liang smiled and said, Master, we're not in a good state. Not in a good state. I think it's not that you're not in a good state, but that you are disloyal. Zheng Guodong stared at Liang with a ferocious expression and roared. What? Fong Yin saved you once, and now he's bribed you? Now you think that I, Zheng Guodong, am a scumbag and don't want to play with me? Liang, Chun Tao, don't forget that everything I do has a part in it. You're the same as me, scumbags and ruffians. Don't think that you are more noble than me. Zheng, actually, Mr. Fong. Shin Tao still wanted to say a word for Fong Yin. TSK, you call him so affectionately. You call him Mr. Fong. Zheng Guodong interrupted Chun Tao's words. Didn't you call him a bastard before? Why did you change it now? Did you surrender to him? Are you ready to betray me? Master, we didn't mean that. Liang's forehead was covered with sweat. He explained, Chun Tao and I just thought that we and Mr. Fong Yin, actually don't have any deep hatred, right? And this time, he really saved us from that place. We still have to acknowledge this kindness, right? Let's put the past behind us. From now on, we will call him teacher. In fact, if we think about it carefully, he is a good person. Why do we have to go against him? What do you think, Master? Zheng Guodong sized up Liang and Chen Tao. He sneered. Interesting. It's really interesting. I always thought that you two were on my side. I thought that the three of us were brothers. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. Now my brother is going to betray me and stand on my enemy's side. Zheng Guodong's voice became vicious as he said, Liang, Chun Tao, since you don't treat me as a brother now, I'll tell you the truth. If you want your father to keep his current position, and if you don't want to get yourself into trouble, you'd better shut your mouths. Never say a bad word about me. If I find out, not only will you be out of luck, but I won't let your families go. Do you remember it clearly? Liang and Chun Tao's faces were pale. They didn't know how to deal with Zheng Guodong's threat. Zheng Guodong waved his hand and said, Get out of here. From today onwards, we're no longer brothers. Liang and Chun Tao looked at each other. They picked up the packages on the ground and left resolutely. Zheng Guodong sat on the carpet and looked at the fleeing figures of the two people through the floor-to-ceiling window. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chapter 136. When Fong Yin returned home, Fong Yingying and Fong Haoan were having dinner. Braised pork, braised fish, braised eggplant, stir-fried water spinach with garlic. Although they were all braised, the dishes were quite sumptuous. Fong Yin was shocked. He knew that Hero and Warrior didn't know how to cook. Even if he tried to cook, he could only make a bowl of egg-fried rice or egg instant noodles. Will Junior Marshal Uncle beat us when he comes back? Fong Haoan asked worriedly while stuffing the braised pork into his mouth. He will eat his fill before he beats us, Fong Yingying said. He won't have the strength to beat us if he's full. Fong Yin sneered and said, In order to prevent you from guessing, should I first exercise and beat you up before coming to eat? Junior martial uncle. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan quickly stood up. Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "That's enough. Don't pretend." I opened the door so loudly, I don't believe you didn't hear it. Fong Yin glanced at the kitchen and asked, "Who cooked?" "Master, it's me." Zhang Chun, with an apron around his neck, stood shyly at the door of the kitchen, like a young wife who had just married into the family. "It turns out to be Coach Zhang," Fong Yin said with a smile. He walked over and shook hands with Zhang Chun, saying, "Coach Zhang has worked hard. These two lazy guys from Hero and Warrior are too outrageous. They even invited Coach Zhang to be their chef. It's really a waste of talent." Zhang Chun smiled bitterly. Fong Yin called him Coach Zhang instead of Zhang Chun, which meant that he was driving him out. He was still unwilling to accept her as his disciple. Zhang Chun really wanted to roar. "Why do you respect me so much? Why do you respect me so much? Can't you just scold me, kick me, or slam me a few times? Do you have any sense of loyalty? What kind of broken world is this?" Zhang Chun was a man who would not easily repent once he had set his goal. Otherwise, he would not have persisted on this path for so many years. With his skills, many headhunters had come to him and offered him a salary that was 10 times or even dozens of times more than what he was earning as a teacher in a martial arts school. They invited him to be a bodyguard for some big shots, but he rejected all of them. He had a heart of martial arts. He constantly polished his body and tempered his skin and bones in order to go further and further on this road. Therefore, he would never give up so easily. Zhang Chun ran over and pulled out the chair for the main seat. He smiled at Fong Yin and said, "Master, are you hungry? Sit down and eat first. I'll cook some seaweed soup and it'll be done." "Coach Zhang, don't be so polite. I'll wait for you," Fong Yin said with a smile. He went to the bathroom to wash his hands, then came back and slapped the heads of the heroes and scolded, "How can a guest eat before the host?" Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan looked aggrieved. Fong Haohan said, "It was Zhang Chun who asked us to eat first." "I asked you not to eat first," Fong Yin said angrily. "Although our Fong family is a family of martial arts, we must always remember the words respect, thriftiness, benevolence, and courtesy. We are martial artists. We have ideals, morals, feelings, and are very polite. We don't spit on the ground or urinate on the side of the road. If you only have skills, but no quality, you will be reduced to a low-level boor." Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan were too straightforward, and they rarely went out before. Fong Yin was worried that they would be cheated by others. That was why he educated them at the dinner table. Junior martial uncle is right. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan bowed their heads and accepted the lesson. "Nonsense," Fong Yin said angrily. "Will I say it if it's wrong?" Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan looked at each other and sighed inwardly. It seemed that they couldn't help Zhang Chun and his brother. Fong Yin really didn't plan to accept apprentices at this time. The last pot of seaweed soup was served. Zhang Chun refused to sit at the table, so he was dragged up by Fong Yin. Moreover, he sat opposite to Fong Yin. Fong Yin looked at Zhang Chun and said with a smile, "Coach Zhang, we are friends of the same generation. Don't be so polite. Come over often in the future when you have time. Let's have a few drinks. I heard that Coach Zhang has a big appetite." "Master," Zhang Chun tried hard to maintain a smile on his face and said, "I will come over to cook for you and my senior brothers every day in the future." "That won't do." Fong Yin hurriedly stopped him. "Coach Zhang is the gold medal coach of Glory Martial Arts School. He is a famous figure in Huaqing's martial arts world. How can I let you come over to cook for us every day? I can't take it. Just come once every 2 or 3 days. Let's drink happily and have a good time." Fong Yin thought that it wasn't a good idea to let Zhang Chun cook every day. They owed him too much. It wasn't appropriate to always bring heroes to eat in the cafeteria. To be honest, the food in the school cafeteria really wasn't to their liking. If Zhang Chun could come over every 2 or 3 days to improve their lives, Fong Yin could still accept this result. "Then I will come once every 2 or 3 days," Zhang Chun said happily. "Master, let me toast you." "Coach Zhang, let's have a toast." Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan buried their heads in the food. They felt that the situation in front of them was too complicated and their intelligence was obviously not enough to handle it. The banquet was lively and festive, especially for the female guests. There were all kinds of strange news and gossip. After the Annies and Aunties finished discussing which world-class brand's new products were the best to see, which celebrity had undergone plastic surgery to become the boss's mistress, and which person had bought a mansion in Europe, they finally turned their attention to Lu Xiaoga, who had been sitting there the whole night without saying a word except for greeting everyone. Xiaoga, which school are you still working as the vice principal of? I don't want to criticize you, but what's so good about being a vice principal? How much salary can they pay you every month? It's not even enough for me to buy a scarf from Hermes. You don't understand, do you? It's because of her hobby. Can hobbies have anything to do with money? Plus, doesn't Xiaoga have Zhu Lu to rely on? She won't have to worry about money with Jiang Zhu around. That's right. Xiaoga, tell me, when are you and Zhu Lu getting married? I'm still waiting to attend your wedding. The woman then turned to Ren Jin, Jiang Zhuliu's mother, who was sitting next to Lu Xiaoga. Ren Jin, as their mother, shouldn't you tell them to hurry up? Ren Jin swirled the wine in her glass gracefully and took a sip. Only then did she reply, I can't rush the kids. But don't worry, I won't keep you waiting for too long. Zhu Lu and Xiaoga grew up together, and they're very close. I'm Xiaoga's mother now, and I'll always be her mother. That's right. I think it's a done deal, too. She can't run away, another lady chimed in. Lu Xiaoga and Jiang Zhulu are a match made in heaven. This is something that everyone in our flower city knows. Xiaoga, don't say I didn't warn you. You have to hold on to a man like Jiang Zhulu. There's so many pretty girls out there, and they're all shameless. Don't let them steal them away. It'll be too late for regrets. Lu Xiaoga's mouth was dry, and her body felt like it was on fire. She wanted to throw up, but she had to nod and smile stiffly at these relatives in front of her, these aunties whom she barely had any contact with. Dealing with fake relationships like this was exhausting, even more so than working overtime for a week. Just then, a handsome man walked up to Lu Xiaoga. Resting his hands on the back of the chair Lu Xiaoga was sitting in, he bent down and whispered in Lu Xiaoga's ear, Are you feeling unwell? A little, Lu Xiaoga whispered. Jiang Zhulu, the male protagonist these aunties and aunties were talking about, appeared. Give me 30 seconds, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. Looking up at the ladies, he smiled as gently as a spring breeze and said, Ladies, I know you're all in the mood, but I have to interrupt. Xiaoga's stomach felt a little unwell when she left home today, and I'd like to take her back to rest. How can we say no to that? Zhulu is such a considerate man. Xiaoga is so happy. Go ahead. Time is precious for young people, unlike old people like us. Although Lu Xiaoga didn't like Jiang Zhuliu's public display of affection, she couldn't wait to get out of this place and breathe some fresh air. I'm sorry. I'm going back. Lu Xiaoga got up and apologized to everyone. As the black Bentley sped along the road, Jiang Zhulu looked at Lu Xiaoga, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and said with a smile, Xiaoga, it's still early. Do you want to have a drink somewhere? Lu Xiaoga refused. I'm tired. I want to rest. Fine. I'll drive you back, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. He wasn't upset at Lu Xiaoga's refusal. Lu Xiaoga nodded and looked out the window at the night view of Huacheng. Nights in Huacheng were charming, but she was rarely in the mood to enjoy them. Just then, a familiar building appeared in front of her. Stop the car at the school gate, Lu Xiaoga said all of a sudden. Xiaoga, aren't you tired? Jiang Zhulu asked in bewilderment. I suddenly feel like taking a walk at school, Lu Xiaoga said. Screech. The luxury car stopped at the gate of Rosefinch Secondary, and Lu Xiaoga unbuckled her seatbelt to get out. Xiaoga, Jiang Zhulu hesitated. Do you want me to go for a walk with you? Lu Xiaoga stopped and thought for a moment, then said, Next time. The muscles on Jiang Zhulio's face twitched, and he said with a smile, Next time, then. He knew that when a woman said next time, she meant it. Chapter 137. We are always attracted by towering buildings and world-famous logos. But have we ever noticed that the small life is equally moving? The autumn wind caressed her face, and the moon and stars filled the sky. Mellow, sweet, intermittent, and indistinct. You don't have to deliberately breathe, and don't be distracted to look for it. Inadvertently, it will fill your nose and mouth and fill your internal organs. The fragrance of osmanthus fills the garden in October. Lu Chauga stood in the osmanthus forest and sighed softly. She was too busy with work and had too many things on her mind. She hadn't come here for a long time. She raised her face and closed her eyes, carefully enjoying the beautiful scenery and the intoxicating fragrance. Her heart was full of regret. If the camera could capture this quietly blooming fragrance, she would definitely find a way to save it. Lu Chauga walked aimlessly along the osmanthus forest. She didn't think about anything, and there was no one to talk to. She had already turned off her cell phone. She was too bored. She just wanted to go out for a walk. If you even think that breathing is a luxury, then you have to reflect on your life. Lu Chauga felt that she should reflect on herself. How long would this road go on? How long would this kind of life go on? Most importantly, would she be able to persevere? Because the boring dinner party ended early, it was still early. Some students who slept late were swimming along the banks of the Sparrow River. There were students playing basketball on the basketball court. On the Sparrow Bridge, a handsome boy holding a guitar was singing, "That's the person I miss day and night. How should I express to her that she will accept me?" Most of the time, Lu Chauga sat on the rostrum of the conference. It was rare for her to listen to their songs as an ordinary audience member, and to hear them express their lives and feelings like she did today. She stood in the shadow of the forest, where it was not easy to be discovered, and listened to one young song after another. It wasn't until a boy singing an English song broke his voice that she smiled and turned to leave. Unknowingly, she walked to the small courtyard assigned to her by the school. She stood at the entrance of the courtyard, hesitated, and decided not to enter. She didn't want to go in and ruin other people's lives. Just as he was about to leave, he heard a moving sound coming from inside. Lu Chauga frowned slightly. When she gave the house to Fong Yin, she had made a promise with him, one of which was that he was not allowed to bring in random people to disturb the neighbor's rest. Now that he heard the movements inside, it was clear that Fong Yin had violated the rules. Lu Chauga pushed open the wooden door and saw two men punching and kicking each other in the yard. They looked extremely fierce and dangerous. "Stop!" Lu Chauga shouted. Fong Yingying and Zhang Chun, who were fighting, immediately jumped back and looked at Lu Chauga in surprise. Fong Yin and Fong Haoan were watching and cheering. Seeing Lu Chauga suddenly appear, he jogged to Lu Chauga and said with a smile, "Principal Lu, why are you here so late at night?" Lu Chauga looked at Fong Yin and asked in an unfriendly tone, "Fong Yin, what are you guys doing?" "Meeting friends through martial arts," Fong Yin said innocently. He pointed at Zhang Chun and said, "Principal Lu, let me introduce you. This is Brilliant Martial Arts School's gold medal coach, Zhang Chun. He is a famous kickboxing expert in Huachin." Lu Chauga just wanted to calm down, but her eyes inadvertently saw a flower pot that had been kicked to pieces at the edge of the yard. She suddenly got angry and said coldly, "I don't care if he is an expert or an amateur. I just want to know what you guys are doing right now. Look at the time. What if you guys disturb others' rest by fighting like this? When I let you live in the house, what did I say to you? First, help me take care of the flowers and plants in the house. If a pot dies or withered, I will find you to settle accounts. Now that the flower pot has been kicked to pieces by you guys, what if the flowers die? Second, the house has to be cleaned seriously. Have you cleaned seriously? Look at the leaves in the yard. Look at the watermelon skin in the corner. Is this how you fulfill your responsibility? Also, I said that you're not allowed to bring outsiders and so as not to disturb the neighbor's rest. Have you done that? Fong Yin, I trust you so much. Is this how you treat my trust?" Originally, Lu Chauga had been suppressing her anger that night. After walking around the school for a while, her anger had mostly dissipated. She didn't expect her anger to increase exponentially when she saw Fong Yin. When the iceberg beauty flipped out, it looked quite scary. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan didn't understand the relationship between this woman and junior martial uncle, so they didn't dare to speak rashly. Zhang Chun was the culprit who kicked the flower pot. He wanted to apologize and put the blame on himself. But Lu Chaoga's firepower was too strong. He couldn't find a chance to speak at all. Finished? Fong Yin looked at Lu Chaoga with a smile and asked, "Do you feel better?" Fong Yin continued to ask. Fong Yin reached out and grabbed Lu Chaoga's arm and said, "Your heart is full of depression. It's hard to release the anger. The cold last time was already a symptom. If you don't release it in time, it may become more serious. Let's go. I will help you release the anger." "Let go," Lu Chaoga said angrily. "Don't move. I am helping you treat the disease," Fong Yin said seriously. Fong Yin dragged Lu Chaoga out of the courtyard, leaving the three stunned friends. "Can this work?" Fong Haohan asked with his eyes wide open. "Holding hands can also cure the disease?" Zhang Chun was shocked. "I don't know if it can cure the woman, but it can definitely cure junior martial uncle's disease," Fong Yingying said. "What disease is junior martial uncle suffering from?" "Hypersexuality syndrome that is very infatuated with people or beautiful plants and scenery." "What disease is this?" "Infatuated." Fong Yin stopped. Lu Chaoga whispered. They were now walking in the teacher's living area. Although at this time, the teachers were at home marking homework or watching TV or movies, but who knows if someone was walking and happened to bump into them. She was being held by Fong Yin. How could it be? What would other people think and guess if they saw it? "Do you feel your heart beating faster?" Fong Yin, let go of my hand. "Do you feel the temperature of your palms rising and the sweat increasing?" Fong Yin, what are you doing? "Your face is turning red, and the skin on your neck is also turning red. Of course, you can't see this. I can tell you." Fong Yin, "Actually, I am the same as you now." Fong Yin said, "I become like this when I hold your hand. Do you think I'm infected by you?" They didn't cross the small gate and walk towards the students' living area because there were too many students there. The school's young vice principal and an unmarried male teacher were walking on the road together. They were afraid that in a few minutes, their scandal would spread all over Rosefinch High School. Fong Yin finally let go of Lu Chaoga's hand, and the two of them walked leisurely along the Bird River. The sky was bright, and the river was rippling. Birds were chirping, and from time to time, fish would swim to the surface of the water. Rosefinch at night was comfortable and peaceful, very suitable for couples to stroll. "Not in a good mood?" Fong Yin asked with a smile. "What do you know?" Lu Chaoga wasn't a person who liked to show her emotions, so she replied coldly. Of course, what happened just now was an exception. Everyone in this society has to bear pressure. Some people bear more, and some people bear less. Some people are more resistant to pressure, and some people are less resistant. I belong to the category of people who can't withstand pressure. So, when I am annoyed or have a problem that I can't solve, I like to find someone to beat up. The fatso you saw just now and the skinny guy next to fatso are the people that I often beat up. Oh, they're the people that I asked you to help me find a job. Of course, I don't mean to ask you to help me find a job at this time. I know you're not in a good mood. So let's not talk about such annoying things. Fong Yin turned and looked at Lu Chaoga with a burning gaze, saying, "I'm a genius. Since I was young, they all thought that I was a genius. I think so too. I'm the man with the best perception in the Fong family. I'm the man who improves the fastest in the Fong family. I'm a martial artist with the most potential in the entire circle." I felt the heart of Tai Chi earlier than anyone else. If I continue to develop like this, I will definitely become the most dazzling star. I will become a grandmaster, a figure that the entire history of martial arts will not be able to ignore. But I met a woman. I met a woman who is more outstanding than me, more talented than me, and more barbaric than me. She knocked me down again and again. She stepped on me again and again. She bullied me and insulted me again and again. She knocked away my self-esteem and pride. She hurt my confidence and pride. For a long time, I was in a very anxious and violent emotional state. I was always thinking about how I could knock her down, how I could take revenge on her, how I could conquer her, and how I could return the humiliation that she inflicted on me back one by one, 10 times, 100 times. What are you trying to say? Lu Chaoga crossed her arms in front of her chest and raised her eyebrows. If he wanted to comfort himself with his failure, this story was too simple and unconvincing, wasn't it? What I want to say is, those who bully my women will not have a good ending. Fang Yin said with a dark expression. So, don't run in front of me and yell at me for no reason. If you make me hold a grudge, I might think of a way to take revenge on you. Chapter 138. In the process of confrontation between men and women, it was always the woman who kept talking about revenge and the man who pretended to be innocent. It was the first time that Lu Chaoga saw such a man shouting about revenge in front of a woman. She was amused by Fang Yan's straightforward threat. She wrapped her arms around her full breasts and stared at Fang Yan playfully. She asked, "What kind of revenge?" Fang Yan raised his head and thought for a moment. He said angrily, "Don't ask such an idiotic question. Do I have to tell you in advance how I'm going to retaliate? What if you're prepared?" Lu Chaoga had always thought that Fang Yan was a chatterbox, but this chatterbox was different from others. Other chatterboxes could easily arouse the desire of the audience around them to express themselves, and then they would talk in full swing. But the most amazing thing about Fang Yan was that he could fight with his words alone, and when he finished what he wanted to express, you would find that you didn't know how to continue. Such a person had a not very positive title at the party, the topic terminator. Lu Chaoga lifted her feet and continued to walk forward. Fang Yan also hurried to her side and said with a smile, "Are you in a better mood now?" Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan sideways, and her heart was slightly warm. She knew that Fang Yan deliberately used such a self-deprecating method to relax her nerves. In order to please a woman, this guy was willing to spend a lot of money. "Thank you," Lu Chaoga said. The depression that had accumulated in her heart for many years was completely stimulated by those gossips at the party. After such an event, she really felt a lot more relaxed. This time, she could go into battle lightly again. The great hatred had not been avenged, and the war would not stop. "If you don't mind, can you tell me what happened?" Fang Yin said with a smile. "You're too nervous. Perhaps you haven't noticed it, but whenever I see you, your nerves are always tense, and your eyes and body are always in a state of vigilance. For such an outstanding and confident woman like you, what are you afraid of? I know why you like to arrange flowers. Only at that time can you relax a little and let your tired body get a moment of rest, right? I saw your handwritten banner in your office. You wrote the word meditation. There's a problem with these two words." Lu Chaoga's expression changed slightly. She had always thought that her disguise was very comprehensive, but she did not expect that Fang Yan's eyes were full of flaws. "There's nothing wrong with those two words." Fang Yan shook his head with a smile. "It's because this word is too normal. That's why there's a problem. How much pressure are you under? How irascible are you that you have to write these two words to constantly remind yourself to calm down? My heart is restless, so I need to meditate. If my heart is calm, why would I need to write these two words to reflect on myself? Have you studied psychology?" Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan with vigilance in her eyes. This man was too scary, and it deepened her understanding of Fang Yan. "Look, you're doing this again." Fang Yan smiled bitterly. "I haven't studied psychology, but I learned Tai Chi. Tai Chi. The best state of Tai Chi is when there is nothing and no me. After there is nothing and no me, the perception of the surrounding environment is more subtle and profound. I can feel who is good to me, who is bad to me, who is guarded against me, and who is sincere to me. It's equivalent to psychology. Psychology is to spy on people's inner world from their language and behavior. It's the same with Tai Chi. People have a way to express their happiness, anger, sorrow, and happiness. A strange sentence, an unintentional look. As long as you collect these emotions, you can get the answer you want. Do you study this every day?" The way Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yin became even more strange. No, no. Fang Yin waved his hand with a smile. It's too tiring to study and think about these things every day to figure out who is unfriendly to me and who wants to bully me. Moreover, Tai Chi is about letting nature take its course. Nature is the biggest principle. I won't stay if he leaves, but I'm not afraid if he comes. That is our principle of doing things. After thinking about it, Fang Yin felt that he should find a way to dispel Lu Chaoga's wariness toward him. After all, she was the only female leader in Rosefinch High School who was willing to protect him. Therefore, Fang Yin said, "Actually, every boy who studies Tai Chi is an angel who fell from the sky. They came to the human world with broken wings to protect a girl. Angels with broken wings can never return to heaven. Therefore, they can only practice Tai Chi for the rest of their lives and be losers. They're simple and kind, and they stand aloof from worldly affairs. If you meet them, you must cherish them." The topic Terminator ended the topic once again. "I think I still need to explain to you," Fang Yin said. "I remember our agreement, and I'm also very grateful for the help you gave me when I was in the most difficult time. I promised you that I would take care of the flowers and plants in the house and yard, and I did that. The first thing I did when I got up in the morning was to water them and weed them. Every night before I went to bed, I would trim their branches and leaves. I would take them outside to absorb the sunlight. I was afraid that they would be blown down by the sudden storm and wind, so I was very careful. Today was an exception, because there was a guest. He accidentally kicked the butterfly orchid when he was fighting with someone. I should have reminded him again before the competition. This was indeed my mistake. I apologize to you. I also promised you that I would clean the house, but as you know, I brought the students in the class to Shisha Mountain for a trip these 2 days. Only my 2 Marshall nephews lived in the house. For them, as long as their pants are zipped up, it means that they are neatly dressed. I apologize to you, and I promise you that as long as I am in the house, there will be no more garbage piling up. And there is the condition of taking in strangers. To be honest, this is very difficult for me to do, because some people are very strange to you, but they are very familiar to me. They're my friends. They're my family. They came all the way to find me, and I can't turn them away. Nowadays, the pressure of employment is increasing, and it is getting harder for migrant workers to find jobs. My 2 little Marshall nephews don't have any skills, and they are still unemployed at home. They don't have a single cent of income every month. I can't let them sleep on the streets, and I can't let them suffer from hunger and cold. I can't turn a blind eye to their difficulties. So, I can only let them live with me. I know that this is against the rules, and I didn't fully fulfill our original agreement. But I believe that you will be able to understand and accept it. Are you willing to accept them? Fang Yin asked. Don't rush to answer. You don't have to force your heart for my sake. If you don't agree, I will immediately drive them out and let them sleep under the bridge. Fang Yin continued. After all, that house is yours. You have 100% right to decide. Lu Chaoga wanted to hit someone. She really wanted to beat the man in front of her. You have already said it like this, and I still strongly ask you to drive them out. What kind of person am I? Since they are living in... Lu Chaoga gritted her teeth and said, then they will live there first. But, I repeat again, you must be obedient. I don't want to be complained because you're too noisy and disturb the rest of the neighbors. I know you will agree. Fang Yin said happily, because you're a kind person like me. Don't deny it. I can see it from your eyes. Lu Chaoga really wanted to ask him, did you see from my eyes that I wanted to beat you up? I'm not in a very good mood tonight. Lu Chaoga apologized to Fang Yin euphemistically. So, my attitude was too intense at the time, and it may have shocked your friends. Apologize to them for me. It's okay. A great man once said that when a beauty loses her temper, God will forgive her. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, this matter was not a problem at all. There are some things that I can't tell you, and I don't know how to tell you. Lu Chaoga stopped and looked at the bright moon in the sky. She said, maybe like you said, saying will make me feel more relaxed and feel that there will be another person to bear it for me. But, in that case, if it brings unnecessary trouble to the other party, then I can only continue to keep it a secret. Some pressure is one person's pressure, and some wars are also one person's war. It has nothing to do with you. Lu Chaoga looked at Fong Yan's delicate face and said, "But I still want to thank you for your company. Why are you so polite?" Fong Yan laughed. Usually, Lu Chaoga liked to keep a straight face. She suddenly became so gentle and considerate and apologized to him. Fong Yan was really not used to it. "This is what I should do. It is my honor to serve the leader." "Is that so?" Lu Chaoga looked at the corner of the courtyard, not far away. "I suddenly feel a little tired." "Tired?" Fong Yan's brain still couldn't react. "If you're tired, go back and rest." Look, this answer is so loser style. Just as he was thinking about why Lu Chaoga was tired, Lu Chaoga suddenly walked over and put her hand around Fong Yan's neck. She gently put her head on Fong Yan's shoulder like those intimate lovers. It was so relaxed and casual, as if they had rehearsed this action thousands of times. Chapter 139. Although he couldn't see the faces of the two people hugging each other on the phone screen due to the lighting, Jiang Zhulu knew that one of them was Lu Chaoga, who he had just separated from. He could distinguish her figure. He could recognize her subtle movements. He could smell the familiar scent on her body. There was no doubt that she was the Lu Chaoga that he couldn't forget about. A woman rejected your protection and companionship in order to rush over and hug another wild man affectionately. This was really ironic. The smile on Jiang Zhulio's face grew wider and the muscles on his face tightened. He stared at the frozen photo on the phone like he was admiring a profound ink painting. He asked, "When did she leave?" "Eldest young master, I followed her until she and Fong Yan separated before I drove over here," Zheng Jing carefully reported. Although Jiang Zhulio's gaze wasn't on him, although Jiang Zhulu was still looking at his phone screen, he could still feel the sharpness in his eyes and the uncontrollable hostility in his body. Slap! Jiang Zhulu did a 90-degree turn and slapped Zheng Jing across the face. This action was too ferocious, too fast, and too difficult. While Zheng Jing was shocked at how Jiang Zhulu was able to execute this action so quickly and well, he didn't feel the pain on his face. "I asked you what time it was, and you just told me what time it was? Accurate down to the minute, accurate down to the second," Jiang Zhulu roared. Shameful. This was a huge humiliation. He was one of the four prodigies of Huaqing, one of the most powerful and charming young masters in Jiang City. He was the lover of the masses. As long as he appeared, countless socialites and noble ladies would flock to him and boldly recommend themselves to sleep with him. But was this how Lu Chaoga treated him? Knowing that she didn't like to socialize, he walked over to protect her and rescued her. He wanted to take her to the bar for a drink, but she said she was tired and wanted to take a walk at school. He offered to accompany her for a walk, but she said next time and rejected his good intentions. Beitai. Jiang Zhulu felt that these two shining words must have been engraved on his forehead. That was because he felt that what he had encountered was 90% similar to the characteristics of the spare tires on the internet. The difference was that those spare tires acted out the story of a loser losing to a tall, rich, and handsome man, while he was a tall, rich, and handsome man losing to a poor loser. Thinking of this, Jiang Zhulu did not rejoice at all. Instead, he felt even more sorrowful. Is it because women don't love money, or because I'm too much of a failure? He began to think about this incomparably tangled and painful question. Young Master Jiang. She left at around 10:35 p.m. Zheng Jing quickly answered. Jiang Zhulu thought about it. When he sent her in, it was 9:15. In other words, the two of them had been alone together for more than an hour. Anything could be done in just over an hour. Kacha! A crisp sound was heard. Zheng Jing covered his face out of habit. When he realized that the sound wasn't from Jiang Zhulu slapping him, but from his phone being smashed against the wall by Jiang Zhulu, he inexplicably felt gratified and grateful to Jiang Zhulu. Young Master Jiang is still very benevolent. Zheng Jing secretly put down his hand that was covering his face and thought in his heart. Jiang Zhulu stood up and paced back and forth in the luxuriously decorated villa's living room. Fang Yin, Jiang Zhulu sneered. How dare he snatch my woman away from me? He's courting death by eating arsenic. Young Master Jiang, just tell me what you need. Zheng Jing will do anything for you. Zheng Jing quickly stood up to express his loyalty. Then go kill Fang Yin, Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. Zheng Jing's expression froze as he looked at Jiang Zhulu in horror. Jiang Zhulu laughed and patted Zheng Jing's shoulder. I'm just kidding. We are law-abiding people. How could we do such an illegal thing? Yes, that's right. Zheng Jing felt his forehead covered in sweat again. Zheng is a smart person. He definitely wouldn't do such a stupid thing. The smile on Jiang Zhulio's face instantly disappeared as he said in a cold voice, What? Is it stupid to want him to disappear? Not really. I mean, Zheng Jing was about to cry. I'm stupid. Don't play with me like this, okay? Jiang Zhulu sighed softly and said, If he suddenly gets into a car accident, I'll be very happy. Jiang Zhulu waved his hand and said, Go. Just do your job. Don't let her know that you came. Yes. Zheng Jing bowed and agreed. Of course, with her intelligence. I'm afraid she already knows. If she asks, you don't have to hide it. You're the spy I placed beside her. How could she not know anything? Yes. Zheng Jing nodded again. Jiang Zhulu waved his hand in annoyance, and Zheng Jing jogged away. The old butler, who had been standing in the corner and almost ignored, walked over with a tray in his hand. Jiang Zhulu took a clean towel from the tray and wiped his hands. He had slapped Zheng Jing earlier, so his hands were already dirty. As far as I know, Chavis shouldn't be so close to that man, right? Jiang Zhulu asked with a smile. Maybe she saw someone secretly taking pictures, so she purposely did it, the old butler said softly. Still so naughty. Jiang Zhulu shook his head helplessly. But she's still so full of character. Uncle Lu, this kind of woman is flesh and blood. She's 100 times better than those vulgar women outside. Isn't that right? The old butler paused and said, A woman willing to put her head on a man's shoulder, even if she's acting, that's still quite dangerous. Jiang Zhulu couldn't laugh anymore and said, Looks like we have to hurry up with our plan. I'll supervise, the old butler said. But, young master, I don't think you should waste too much time on a woman. Is that so? Jiang Zhulio's lips curled into a mocking smile. It's about love and dignity. How can you just define her as a woman? She's the woman I like. The old butler didn't try to persuade him anymore and silently retreated with the tray. Taekwondo dojo. The students of the 9th class looked around and felt that it was extremely novel and fun. Some students were Taekwondo enthusiasts and frequent visitors of the dojo, so they were used to the layout and design inside. However, some students, especially many female students, came to the Taekwondo dojo for the first time. Naturally, they had a novel idea of prying into everything inside. It's so strange. Why did Mr. Feng ask us to gather here? Are we going to learn a new text today? Which text do you think we're going to learn today? Who wants to bet with me? Huang Haoran, why hasn't Mr. Feng come yet? Is it possible that he hasn't woken up yet? Hurry up and call him. We're all anxious, waiting for him to come and reveal the mystery. In the past, the students would expect the teacher to come a little late, or the teacher couldn't come because he was not feeling well or had something to do at home. If a teacher suddenly asked for leave because of diarrhea and let the students study by themselves, the students would be so excited that they wanted to tear down the table. However, after Fang Yin came, this habit suddenly changed. If the teacher didn't come, the students would be anxious. If the teacher came late, the students would be even more anxious. If the teacher didn't come, they would tear down the table. Every language class was a journey of knowledge and a journey of the soul for them. Attending a Chinese class was equivalent to going on a trip to a beautiful place. Until now, they were excited when they thought of farewell to Cambridge again and Rainy Alley. When they heard students from other classes or other schools talking about it, they would raise their necks proudly and say in a calm voice, as if it was nothing in their eyes. They would say, you're talking about our class. They really looked forward to Fang Yin bringing them more surprises. They were looking forward to Fong Yin creating more miracles for them every day. After all, Fong Yin was their most respected and favorite legendary teacher in their hearts. Of course, they didn't know if they would still think, so after understanding the many stains in Fong Yan's life, because he had gained Fong Yan's full trust, Huang Haoran's status as the representative of the Chinese class also rose with the tide. If there was anything that needed to be communicated with Fong Yin, he would be the one to report to Fong Yin. Huang Haoran took out his mobile phone and was about to make a call when he heard Fong Yin say behind him, "Don't waste the phone, Bill. I'm already here." "Mr. Fong," the students of Class 9 shouted in surprise. Fong Yin looked at the students' expectant eyes and knew that the effect he wanted had been achieved. The consecutive surprises had made them curious and look forward to every Chinese class. With curiosity and expectation, was there a need to worry that they wouldn't be able to learn Chinese well? Fong Yin glanced around and asked with a smile, "Is everyone here?" Zheng Guodong asked for sick leave. Huang Haoran said, "Yes, I got it," Fong Yin said. "Then let's start the class." "Mr. Fong, why did you ask us to come to the Taekwondo club? Are you going to teach us martial arts? Is it Tai Chi?" "It must be Tai Chi." Mr. Fong's posture of Tai Chi on Shisha Mountain was so cool. I even took a picture. "That's right. If we learned a few moves and ran to a place with a lot of girls, how many girls would like it?" "We'll learn banquet at Hongmen today," Fong Yin said with a smile. Chapter 140. I want to play Liu Bang. I want to play Xiangyu. Xiangyu is a great hero. Zheng Dong, you idiot. Don't play Xiangyu. Xiangyu wants to commit suicide. After hearing Fong Yin say that today's lesson was banquet at Hongmen, the students' interest soared. This was especially so for the boys, who didn't have a heroic dream of leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls, who didn't want to be an invincible general on the battlefield. Fong Yin waved his hand, signaling for everyone to quiet down. After waiting for everyone to fall silent, he said, "Previously, I let everyone preview this text. Now, everyone should have some understanding of the background story of Banquet at Hongmen, right? We'll use the same method we used before to teach the lesson. There are a few important characters in this lesson that need to be played by students. The first one is Xiangyu, who will play this role. Tangcheng." A girl jumped out and said. It seemed that she was a hardcore supporter of Rose Finch. "Why Tangcheng?" Fong Yin asked with a smile. "Because Tangcheng is handsome. Xiangyu is also handsome," the girl said without hiding it. If it were another teacher, they would never say something like this. However, because Fong Yin was Fong Yin, and because Fong Yin could understand and tolerate them easily, they were so frank and direct. Fong Yin nodded with a smile and said, "Okay. Then Tangcheng will play the role of Xiangyu, the first teacher of Class 9. The other students will also have chance." "Mr. Fong, can I play Liu Bang?" Liang asked carefully. Zheng Guodong asked for leave, but his two hardcore supporters, Chun Tao and Liang, came to class early in the morning. If nothing happened between the three of them, Fong Yin would not believe it. He looked at Liang and asked, "Does everyone agree?" No one said anything. Disgust prevented them from saying yes, and fear prevented them from saying no. Liang's face turned red. He looked at the students of Class 9 and said, "I know everyone doesn't like me. I know that we have indeed done a lot of things to make everyone hate us. I will correct it. I will definitely correct it. Please supervise me. I want to play the role of Liu Bang. I will definitely do my best. Please believe in me and support me." After Liang finished speaking, he bowed deeply to the audience. This apology was very sincere. Pa pa pa. The students were easily moved. After Liang stood up, they gave him a warm round of applause. Fong Yin nodded with a smile and said, "It seems that everyone agrees that Liang will play the role of Liu Bang." Fong Yin was very pleased. A prodigal who repents is more valuable than gold. To be able to turn a bad student into a good person, this is the wish of every teacher. He knew that another student had fallen for his black trousers. "Agreed," the students shouted in unison. Fong Yin smiled and then asked for everyone's opinion. He chose Zhang Liang, Fan Kuai, Fan Zeng, and several other main roles. "Teacher, what about Yuji?" a boy shouted excitedly. "Yuji has no part in Banquet at Hongmen," Fong Yin said. "Teacher, why don't you choose one? It's not tiring to act with a man and a woman," the boys insisted. Even Tongqing's eyes lit up. He said, "Teacher, you'd better choose one. She's still needed for the later scenes." Fong Yin thought for a moment and shouted, "Qini Tian," standing behind the crowd. Qini Tian said calmly, "I won't play Yuji." Tongqing's face suddenly turned red, and his expression was gloomy and disappointed. Qini Tian's answer was as if he had refused him on the spot. "Why not play Yuji?" Fong Yin asked. After thinking for a moment, he quickly said, "Forget it. Just pretend I didn't ask, and you don't have to answer." Fong Yin felt that he was too smart. He didn't expect that Qini Tian was not a girl who liked to play cards according to common sense. She didn't want to let him get what he wanted at all. Qini Tian pursed her lips and smiled. "Because you're not Xiangyu." The students of the 9th class cheered, and Tang Chong felt as if someone had stabbed him in the chest. It was dripping with blood. Fong Yin frowned and said with a serious expression, "Student Qini Tian, it's class time now. Don't joke around." Without waiting for Qini Tian to refute, he scolded the other students and said, "Don't make trouble. If the teaching office hears this, our class will be deducted again. The scandal must be strangled in the cradle." Fong Yin felt that it was time for him to have a good talk with Qini Tian. "Okay, let's start the class now," Fong Yin said aloud. At this moment, there was a noisy sound of footsteps outside. Then, a large number of students in Rosefinch secondary uniforms rushed over. "Ah, it's Class 1. What are the people from Class 1 doing here? Look at the books in their hands. They're also here for class. I see Zhangyu. They're also in Chinese class. Why do I feel that they're not friendly?" Fong Yin also saw Zhangyu. Zhangyu was the Chinese teacher of Class 1. As a teacher of the top class of Rosefinch High School, a private school, Zhangyu was quite proud. He graduated from a famous school and was the first batch of specially hired teachers of Rosefinch Secondary. He used to lead a class that dominated the whole school with excellent results for 3 consecutive years. There were countless students who were admitted to famous universities. Therefore, he was transferred to the top class of the whole school as a Chinese teacher. In response to the school's slogan, "The genes of a famous school should be grasped from the basics." Since he became the Chinese teacher of Class 1, the Chinese results of Class 1 had always been ranked first in the school's overall and average scores, far ahead of the second place. Class 1 was the top class and also the devil's class. There had never been a class that could challenge the authority of Class 1. It was also because of this that Zhang Yu had always been the treasure of the school. He was a capable teacher in the eyes of the leaders and a high-scoring machine in the eyes of the students. However, since Fong Yin came, his limelight was completely overshadowed. Even Class 1's limelight had been snatched away by Class 9. Take the incident of receiving the Wu Rin delegation as an example. Class 1 was responsible for receiving the guests. This was a tradition and habit of Rosefinch High School for many years, but this year the rules were changed because of the arrival of Fong Yin. Before, they fiercely opposed it because they had the mentality of watching a good show. When you're embarrassed, invite us to clean up the mess. At that time, the school leaders would understand who the real elites were. Unexpectedly, the students of Class 9 not only successfully completed the task of receiving the guests, but also achieved an unexpectedly good result. In the words of Headmaster Liu Chaoga, it was the best in history. The best in history? These words were simply a slap in the face. They had been doing it for so many years, but they were overthrown and defeated in one day. If someone could achieve a best in history in 1 year, then what had their Class 1 done for so many years? Zhang Yu was jealous of the culprit. Fong Yin, and even the students of Class 9 were not pleasing to the eye. All along, he had been looking for an opportunity to beat Fong Yin's arrogance. Yes, in his heart, Fong Yin was indeed the typical representative of arrogance, disrespect for elders, lawlessness, greed, lust, and not bathing all year round. When he heard that Fong Yin asked the students of Class 9 to gather at the Taekwondo dojo today, he immediately rushed over with the students of Class 1. Whether it was a mule or a horse, it was a competition. He wanted to knock down Fong Yin face to face, so that he would not always use those non-mainstream things to attract attention and achieve the purpose of self-promotion. He had confidence in Class 1, and Class 1 would never lose to anyone. Zhang Yu was in his 30s, and he could become the backbone of the teaching team, which could be regarded as a young and promising person. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, had short yellow hair, and gave off a strong sense of scholarly aura. Fong Yin knew Zhang Yu. Seeing him coming in behind the students of Class 1, he smiled and asked, "Miss Zhang, you also have class today?" Zhang Yu glanced at Fong Yin and said with a blank expression, "If I don't have class, will I run around with the students? I'm not as daring as some people who do whatever they want." "Haha, I guess the person Miss Zhang is talking about must be me, right?" Fong Yin said without modesty. "Whoever says it will understand." Zhang Yu also smiled, but it was a sneer. He really didn't hide his disgust for Fong Yin. Fong Yin pointed at the students of Class 1 and asked, "Ms. Zhang also has class here?" "Yes," Zhang Yu said with absolute certainty. "You also learned banquet at Hong Min." "I happened to learn this article," Zhang Yu said. He pretended to be surprised and looked at Fong Yin and asked, "Mr. Fong, are you also going to take the students to learn this article?" "Yes, we're going to learn this article," Fong Yin said. "Then we really came at the right time," Zhang Yu said. "It's really a coincidence," Fong Yin said. "Miss Zhang came at the right time. It's really great." "It's great?" Zhang Yu was puzzled. "What is this guy talking about? Doesn't he know why I came here?" "Miss Zhang, if you didn't come, I was still worried about how to teach this banquet at Hongmin well, so that everyone will have a deeper understanding of these 3 words. Now this problem is solved." Fong Yin grinned and said to the students of Class 9 loudly, "Students, everyone should feel it. This is the real banquet at Hongmin. Time passes. The heroes and artifacts in the book are too far away from us. But as long as we have a pair of eyes that are good at discovering and a mind that is good at thinking, we will know that the truth has always been in front of us." What does he think he is? As a tool to understand the text? As the culprit to restore the scene of the banquet at Hongmin? After listening to Fong Yan's words, Zhang Yu almost vomited a liter of blood and fainted. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.